Have you ever felt like you just didn't quite fit in? Especially somewhere you were supposed to learn and grow? Like you were trying your hardest, but the way things were taught just didn't click for you? For many people throughout history, school, as we know it today, simply wasn't the right fit. It wasn't about being lazy or not smart enough. It was about the way school itself was set up. Imagine a gardener trying to grow every single type of plant in the exact same kind of soil, with the exact same amount of sunlight and water. Some plants would absolutely thrive, wouldn't they? They'd reach for the sky, vibrant and strong. But others, well, they'd struggle. Some might even wilt or never fully bloom, not because they were bad plants, but because their specific needs weren't being met by that one-size-fits-all environment. Our modern schools were largely created a long time ago, around the time when factories were becoming very common. The idea was to build a system that could teach many, many children all at once, in a consistent, uniform way. It was seen as efficient, like an assembly line for learning. Kids would move through grades like products, learning the same lessons at the same pace, and hopefully coming out with the same basic knowledge and skills. And for a lot of people, this model worked really well. It still does for millions. But here's the thing. People aren't products that can be mass-produced. We are all wonderfully, uniquely different inside. So, for some students, the traditional school environment felt less like a place to blossom, and more like wearing shoes that were a size too small, or maybe even a size too big. You could still walk forward, sure, but it was uncomfortable. It might have even hurt a little, holding you back from moving freely. Maybe you were someone who learned best by doing, by getting your hands dirty, and trying things out. But school mostly asked you to sit still, listen quietly, and read from textbooks. Or perhaps you were a deep thinker, someone who wanted to explore one fascinating topic for weeks on end, digging into every little detail, but the bell rang every hour, pulling you to another subject you hadn't even begun to care about. Or maybe you felt boxed in, unable to ask the big, wild, imaginative questions that truly sparked your mind, because the day's schedule focused only on specific answers. It's easy to think that if school didn't quite work for someone, it must have been their fault, or that they just weren't trying hard enough. But what if the problem wasn't the student at all? What if the system itself was simply not designed for certain types of learners, for certain ways of thinking and growing? This quiet feeling, this sometimes frustrating realization that school wasn't serving every single person, sparked a powerful question in many hearts and minds. Could we do better? Could we imagine a completely different way of learning? A way that truly honored the unique person inside each and every student. So, when we talk about school not working, we are not talking about personal failure. We are talking about a mismatch, like trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, but on a much bigger, more human scale. It's about the quiet, sometimes challenging, realization that genuine learning is not a single, straight path for everyone. It reminds us that true learning isn't just about memorizing facts or getting good grades. It's about awakening deep curiosity, nurturing individual creativity, and helping each person discover their very own best way to understand and connect with the world around them. And sometimes, for that amazing discovery to happen, the old ways of teaching and learning had to be bravely questioned and even changed. It takes a quiet courage to say, "This isn't working for me," especially when it seems to work for everyone else. And it takes even more courage to then imagine and bravely build something truly new. Have you ever been in a rush? Everyone around you is moving in one direction. Then you feel a quiet nudge inside, a feeling that maybe things need to slow down or change course. That little voice isn't asking for trouble. It's just asking for a pause, for a moment to simply think. These are the educational reformers who simply said, wait. They saw the classrooms, the lessons, the rules. They didn't just accept them. They didn't go along because it had always been that way. Instead, they took a deep breath. They looked closely, and they asked a simple yet powerful question. Is this truly the best way? It's not always easy to be the one who asks to wait. People often want to keep moving. They like what is familiar. Change can feel scary. It can feel like a lot of work. So, when someone says, hold on, It takes a quiet strength. It takes courage to stand apart, even for a moment, and think differently. Throughout history, progress often starts with someone who dared to pause. Think about it. For a long time, people believed the sun went around the earth. That was the accepted truth. Quiet thinkers, like astronomers, looked at the stars. They saw things that didn't fit the old story. And they said, wait, what if it's the other way around? This wasn't about being loud. It was about careful observation. It was about asking questions, even when answers seemed obvious. Here's the thing about education. It's important because it shapes minds. It helps us learn how to think, not just what to think. So, if how we teach isn't working, if it leaves too many students behind, or if it doesn't prepare them, someone has to notice. Someone has to be brave enough to say, wait, this isn't right. Imagine you and your friends are working on a big English project. Everyone is rushing to finish, maybe cutting corners. You see a part that feels weak. You know it won't earn a good grade or show your best work. It would be easier to just go along, to say nothing. But what if you spoke up? What if you said, hey, wait a minute. Let's look at this part. I think we can make it better. It might slow things down. Some people might get annoyed. But if your idea makes the project stronger, that pause was worth it. That wait made a difference. The reformers did something similar, but on a much bigger scale. They weren't just fixing one project. They were trying to fix a whole system. They saw where learning was stifled, where creativity was squashed, or where students weren't truly seen. Their wait was a call for reflection. It was an invitation to a new path. Their quiet wait often turned into strong, clear voices, even if those voices were eventually silenced. But the idea, the seed of doubt, the quiet question, often lived on. It found its way into other minds. It pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The act of pausing, of truly looking, holds a deep power. It reminds us that progress isn't just about rushing forward. Sometimes, it's about having the wisdom to stop, rethink, and choose a more thoughtful direction. It's about honoring that quiet inner voice that asks us to just wait and wonder. Have you ever had a thought, a truly new idea that you just knew was right, but no one else seemed to understand it? Like you were seeing something clearly that others couldn't quite grasp yet? Sometimes, certain ideas arrive in the world like that. They are brilliant, thoughtful, and even true, but they show up long before the world is ready to accept them. We call these ideas too big for their time. Think of it like this. Imagine trying to explain a smartphone and the internet to someone living 500 years ago. They wouldn't have the words for apps or Wi-Fi. They wouldn't have seen anything like it. Their world didn't have the tools or the understanding to make sense of such a thing. That's what it means for an idea to be too big. It's not wrong or bad, but it needs a different world, a different time, to truly be seen and used. For centuries, people held on to old ways of thinking. It's human nature to stick with what feels comfortable and known. So, when someone steps forward with a truly new idea, especially one that challenges deep-seated beliefs, it can feel threatening. People might not have the right tools, like microscopes or telescopes, to prove the idea. Or, the idea might just go against what everyone in power believes. It takes courage to speak these ideas out loud when the world isn't listening. Consider the idea of germs. For a long, long time, people didn't know about tiny living things that could make you sick. They thought diseases came from bad air or from an imbalance in the body. So, when doctors like Ignaz Semmelweis in the 1800s suggested that doctors should wash their hands between treating patients to stop the spread of illness, many people laughed at him. They couldn't see these germs. The idea of washing hands to prevent invisible sickness seemed strange, even insulting to some. It went against everything they believed about how illness worked. Doctors were respected, and their hands were clean, right? They didn't see the need to wash them. Semmelweis's idea was simple, but it was too big for his time because the science and the understanding of microscopic life hadn't fully caught up. People didn't have the tools to actually see the proof of what he was saying. His truth was ahead of its time. So, when we look back, we see that progress often moves in fits and starts. It's not always a straight line. Many brave people, full of insight and good intentions, have tried to change things for the better. only to find their ideas met with silence, confusion, or even anger. Their wisdom was a seed planted in rocky ground, waiting for the right conditions to grow. And that reminds us of something important. Sometimes, the most profound truths need time. They need patience. They need the world to slowly catch up, to gain new knowledge, or to finally open its mind. Even if an idea is not immediately accepted, its quiet truth can still wait patiently for its moment to bloom. Have you ever had a great idea, one you truly believed would make things better, only to see it go nowhere? It's a frustrating feeling, isn't it? This happens often with good ideas, especially for big changes, like in education. You might wonder, how can something so clearly good just get stuck? Here's the thing. Thinking up a good plan is one step. Making it happen is another, often much harder. Imagine someone saw a problem in schools, like old teaching methods not helping every student. So, they dream up a new way, full of fresh ideas, designed to help everyone succeed. It looks perfect on paper. It sounds amazing. But then, when they try to put it into practice, it hits a wall. Part of the problem is that people are used to how things are. Change, even good change, can feel uncomfortable. We get comfortable with our routines, the way we've always done things. Think about trying to change a school tradition, even an outdated one. There's often resistance, because people cherish what's familiar. For centuries, education has worked in certain ways. Trying to shift that whole system is like turning a giant, old ship. It takes immense force and time. Even then, powerful currents push back. Then there are all the different groups involved: teachers, parents, students, school leaders, people who fund schools. Everyone has their own ideas, their own concerns. A great plan for one group might seem bad to another. For instance, a plan to give students more freedom could excite students, but it might worry parents who prefer a set path, or teachers unsure about a less structured classroom. So, the plan gets tangled in different needs and fears. And sometimes, it's about money and power. New ways often cost money, and there might not be enough. Or a new idea might challenge the power of people already in charge. They might feel threatened. So, even if the plan is good for students, it might get pushed aside because it upsets existing power or budgets. Think about trying a new, healthier lunch menu at your school. You and your friends might come up with a brilliant plan. Fresh salads, more fruit, tasty vegetarian options. You write it down, maybe even survey other students. It seems perfect. But then, the cafeteria manager points out the cost of fresh ingredients is too high. The school's food company might not offer those options. Some students might complain missing their usual pizza, and the school board might say there's no extra money. What looked like a simple, great idea suddenly becomes complex and hard to make happen. The plan itself wasn't bad. It just ran into the many layers of how things already work. It's a quiet tragedy when good intentions and smart ideas don't get a chance to grow. It reminds us that making things better isn't just about good ideas. It's also about understanding the world, the layers of habit, fear, power, and practicality. It teaches us patience and how important it is to keep pushing, even when the path is long and full of obstacles. Because even if one good plan gets stuck, the next one might find a way through. Have you ever felt like you were talking, but the person listening wasn't really hearing you? Maybe they were nodding, but their eyes were distant, or they were just waiting for their turn to speak. That feeling of not being truly heard can be a heavy one. So, what does it mean to really, truly listen, especially when we talk about kids and learning? It's more than just staying silent when someone is speaking. It's about creating a space where a young person feels safe to share their thoughts, their worries, their brilliant, sometimes messy ideas. It's about letting them know they'll be heard, not just judged or dismissed. For a very long time, schools were often set up like a one-way street. Information flowed from the teacher's mouth to the student's ear. But what if the students had something important to say too? What if their questions, their confusions, or even their silence held important clues about how learning actually happens? Think about how we used to think about kids not so long ago in history. Some people saw children as tiny adults, or as empty containers just waiting to be filled with facts. But then, Some thinkers and educators started to see things differently. They realized that a child's mind is not empty at all. It's full of curiosity, questions, and a natural drive to understand the world. People like Maria Montessori, a doctor and educator from Italy, who lived over 100 years ago, began to say, children have their own inner guide. They learn best when they explore, when they question, when we listen to them and what they are trying to discover. This idea that a child's mind is active and needs to be paid attention to wasn't always popular. Sometimes it was even seen as a radical, almost crazy idea. Yet, it was a profound shift. Here's a way to think about it. Imagine you're a detective. You're trying to figure out a puzzle, maybe solve a mystery. You could just make guesses, or you could carefully gather clues. You'd listen to every little detail, every witness statement, every rustle of leaves. Each piece of information, no matter how small, helps you build a clearer picture. If you only listen to what you expect to hear, you might miss the most important clues. Kids, in their learning journey, are giving us clues all the time. Through the questions they ask, the things they draw, the way they struggle with a problem, or the sudden sparkle in their eyes when something finally clicks. If we really pay attention, if we listen to those signals, we can understand so much more about how they learn, what excites them, and what might be holding them back. It's like listening to the machine hum, not just looking at the buttons. When we truly listen to young people, we are not just getting information, we are showing respect. We are saying, silently but clearly, your thoughts matter, your feelings matter, you matter. This kind of deep listening helps build something incredibly important, trust. And trust is like the soft ground where real learning, real growth, and real confidence can take root and blossom. When a young person feels heard, they feel seen, they feel valued, and that feeling can open up so many possibilities, not just in a classroom, but in life itself. Listening deeply isn't always easy. It takes patience. It takes an open mind. But it is one of the most powerful things we can do to help young minds grow and to build a better, more thoughtful world. One where every voice has a chance to be heard and truly understood. Have you ever wondered why some great ideas, even really good ones, don't always catch on? Maybe you've thought of a better way to do something in school, but it felt too hard to change the old way. It's a bit like that for schools themselves. For a long time, across history, people just taught the same way their grandparents were taught. It was a factory model. Everyone learned the same thing, the same way, at the same speed. But some people, brave souls, saw things differently. They believed school could be a place where every mind could truly shine, not just fit into a mold. These were the educational reformers, and many of them, sadly, were silenced. Their voices were quieted, their ideas pushed aside. Imagine a teacher. Let's call her Miss Evelyn. She taught in a small town a long time ago. She loved her students deeply, and she saw them not just as kids in desks, but as unique stars, each with their own light. She noticed that some students learned best by doing things, not just by listening. Some loved stories, others needed quiet time to think. The school system then didn't really care about these differences. It was all about memorizing facts and staying silent. But Miss Evelyn knew there was a better way. She started small. Instead of making all the kids read the same book, she brought in different books. She let students work together on projects, talking and figuring things out. She even changed her classroom around, making little corners for reading or quiet work. She believed that learning should feel natural, like breathing, not forced. It's like when you're trying to learn a new skill, like playing a musical instrument or a sport. If you just read a book about it, it's hard. But when you pick up the instrument, or step onto the field, and a patient coach shows you how to hold it, how to move, how to practice in a way that makes sense for you, that's when it clicks. Miss Evelyn tried to be that kind of coach for her students. Word spread about Miss Evelyn's class. Some parents loved it. Their children were excited about school for the first time. But others, including some powerful people in town, didn't like it. They said she was breaking the rules. They said her classroom was too noisy, too different. They worried that if kids learned in new ways, they wouldn't be ready for the world outside. A world that still liked old, fixed ways. They were afraid of change, of anything that rocked the boat. They told her to go back to the old methods. When she didn't, not fully, they found ways to make her life difficult. Eventually, Miss Evelyn had to leave her job. Her ideas, though brilliant and kind, were too far ahead of her time for that town. She was, in a way, silenced. But here's the thing about good ideas. They don't truly disappear. They're like seeds carried on the wind. Miss Evelyn's students remembered how she taught. They remembered the joy of learning in her class. And maybe, years later, one of them became a teacher or a parent and quietly brought some of Miss Evelyn's gentle, student-focused ways into their own world. The brave teacher might have been silenced in her own time, but the ripple of her courage, the quiet wish for something better, can still travel far. And sometimes, it changes the world in ways we can't even see. It reminds us that even when voices are quieted, the truth in their message can still echo through the years, waiting for someone new to listen. Have you ever stopped to really think about how you learn? Not just what you learn in a class, but the actual process. How do ideas take root in your mind and become something you truly know? For a long time, the idea of education was mostly about packing facts into students' heads. Teachers stood at the front of a room. They talked, and students wrote things down. It was almost like filling an empty bucket. You poured in the facts, and the hope was that the bucket would hold them. But some people, over many years, began to wonder if there was a deeper way. They saw that real understanding wasn't just about remembering dates or formulas. It was about making sense of things. It was about seeing connections, about asking why and how. These thinkers felt that true learning wasn't a one-way street, where knowledge just flowed from teacher to student. They believed it was more like a journey we take, sometimes with guides, but often by ourselves, led by our own curiosity. Here's the thing. Think of your brain for a moment. Imagine it not as an empty room waiting for furniture, but like a huge, growing city. When you learn something new, it's like a new building goes up. And as you connect that new idea to something you already know, or as you explore it from different angles, new roads are paved between buildings. Each new road makes the old one stronger. It helps you get around the city of your knowledge more easily. This isn't just about remembering a fact. It's about building a useful map of understanding in your mind. Consider learning to play a musical instrument, like the guitar. At first, you might just learn to press certain strings for specific notes. That's like the initial facts. But then you start to understand chords, how they fit together, how different melodies create feelings. You practice, you make mistakes, you try new songs. You don't just know the notes, you feel the music. You create it. The learning isn't just in your fingers or reading sheet music. It's in the entire experience. In the joy of making something beautiful. It becomes a part of you. This way of thinking about learning pushes us to be active, not just passive. It means asking questions, even when the answers aren't clear right away. It means trying things out, even if we might get them wrong. Because getting something wrong isn't the end. It's just another road in your growing city, showing you where not to go, or maybe a different way to reach your goal. When we truly change how we learn, we stop being just receivers of information. We become explorers, builders, and artists of our own understanding. We discover that the deepest lessons are often found not in answers, but in the questions we are brave enough to ask, and in the quiet strength we find when we trust our own curious minds to guide us. And that kind of learning, that personal quest, truly stays with us, lighting our way long after the lesson ends. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the best ideas, the ones that seem so clear and right, still face a lot of pushback? It's like trying to move a really big, heavy rock, even if you know there's treasure under it. Getting others to help can be tough. Think about it. Our schools, the way we learn, has been around for a long, long time. Generations have gone through similar classrooms, read similar books, and because something has been done one way for so long, it starts to feel normal, even sacred. When someone comes along and says, "Hey, maybe there's a better way to do this," not everyone claps and cheers. In fact, many people might feel uncomfortable, even threatened, by the idea of change. This isn't just about school. It's how humans often react to anything new. For thousands of years, people thought the Earth was the center of the universe. It made sense to them. The sun, moon, and stars seemed to spin around us. So, when brave thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo suggested that, actually, the Earth orbits the sun, a lot of people got upset. They had built their whole understanding of the world, their beliefs, their maps, around the old idea. Changing it meant shaking everything up. It felt wrong, even dangerous to some. It's a natural human tendency to stick with what's known, what feels safe, what has always been. Imagine your school decided to change the entire schedule next year. No more 8-period days, maybe only 3 long blocks with different teachers. Or perhaps they say, no more homework ever. Sounds amazing, right? But even then, some students might feel anxious. What about my friends in other classes? Will I still learn enough? What if I don't like these new, longer classes? Teachers might worry about how to plan lessons. Parents might wonder if it's really better. Even good changes can feel unsettling because they pull us out of our comfort zone, out of the routines we've built. We've gotten used to the way things are, even if they aren't perfect. It takes effort to adjust, to learn new habits, to trust a new system. This feeling, this resistance, is very real. It's not always because people are mean or bad. Sometimes, it's just fear of the unknown, or a deep love for how things have been. So, when we talk about people who wanted to reform education, who dared to suggest different ways of learning or teaching, we have to remember this. Their ideas, no matter how brilliant or helpful, often met a wall of tradition, fear, and comfort. It wasn't always a simple, easy path. It took courage not just to come up with new thoughts, but to stand by them when the world pushed back. And sometimes, that pushback was so strong, their voices were quieted, their ideas put on hold. It makes you wonder how many great changes we might have missed, just because we were too comfortable to listen, too afraid to try something truly different. And it makes you think about how we react to new ideas today, how we can choose to be open, even when it feels a little uncertain. Have you ever thought about the ideas that didn't make it? Not the big inventions that changed the world, but the quiet thoughts, the brave attempts, especially in something as important as how we learn. We often talk about famous leaders or great discoveries. But what about the people who tried to make schools better, whose efforts were, for different reasons, lost to time? These are what we call the forgotten heroes of the classroom. They weren't famous. Their faces aren't on posters. But they had big dreams for students, for how knowledge should be shared, and for what a good education truly looks like. They might have been teachers, principals, parents, or just people who cared deeply about young minds. They saw problems with how things were done, and they dared to imagine a different way. History isn't just a straight line going from one important event to the next. Sometimes, it's like a forest with many paths. Some paths are well-worn, like the main story we learn, but others are overgrown, hidden, and hardly anyone remembers where they lead. These forgotten reformers walked those hidden paths. Maybe their ideas were too far ahead of their time. Perhaps powerful people didn't like what they proposed, because change can be scary. Or maybe their efforts were just small, local experiments that never got the chance to spread. Think about a brilliant scientist who discovers something incredible. But back then, no one believes them. Their ideas are written down, maybe in a dusty old book, and then forgotten for 100 years. Later, someone else discovers the same thing, and they get all the credit. It's like that with these education reformers. They had good ideas, truly insightful ways of teaching or organizing schools, but their moment didn't come, or it was taken away. Maybe one of them suggested that students should learn by doing, not just by listening, or that classrooms should be more like workshops where you explore and create. Perhaps someone argued that every student learns differently, and schools should adapt to each person. These aren't new ideas today, are they? But someone had to think of them first, and often, that first thinker was overlooked or actively silenced. Their voices were quieted, their work dismissed. So why does it matter? It matters because their forgotten struggles tell us something important about progress. It shows us that good ideas don't always win right away. It reminds us that courage isn't just about fighting big battles. It's also about quietly trying to make things better, even when no one is watching, even when you might fail. When we remember these forgotten heroes, even if we don't know their names, we honor the spirit of trying. We learn to look deeper than just the headlines, and we see that the seeds of a better future might already be planted, waiting for us to find them and help them grow. It teaches us to be curious about what lies hidden and to value the quiet efforts that truly shape the world, one thoughtful step at a time. Have you ever stopped to think about school, not as a place you have to go, but as a place you want to be? What if learning felt more like an adventure than a chore? This isn't about ditching textbooks for playtime every day. It's about something deeper. It's about finding joy in discovery. It's about curiosity being the main fuel, not grades or tests. Imagine if learning felt natural, like breathing, or like solving a puzzle you actually cared about. This is the idea many thinkers have imagined. A school where fun means engagement, meaning, and a true spark inside you. For a long, long time, people have asked these questions. Way back, ancient Greek thinkers like Socrates believed that true learning came from asking questions, from open conversations, from wondering about the world together. They didn't have classrooms with rows of desks and bells. Learning was more about discussion, about exploring ideas. It was messy, human, and driven by a desire to understand. Over time, as societies grew bigger, schools changed. They became more about teaching many people at once, about preparing them for jobs. The system became more organized, more standardized, and maybe in that process, some of the natural joy of discovery got lost along the way. It became less about the fire of curiosity and more about the facts we had to memorize. Think about how you learn something you truly love. Maybe it's a new move in a sport, or a difficult song on an instrument. Maybe it's figuring out a complex level in a video game. You don't just sit there and try to memorize steps. You experiment, you fail, you try again. You practice for hours, not because someone told you to, but because you want to get better. You feel that rush when something clicks. That's a deep kind of fun. It's the fun of mastery, of truly understanding, of feeling your brain grow. What if school could tap into that same feeling? What if geometry was like trying to figure out the best way to build a skateboard ramp? Or history was like piecing together a real-life mystery? When you truly care about the outcome, when you see the point, the effort doesn't feel like work anymore. It feels like purpose. So, if school could be truly fun, not just easy, but deeply engaging, what would that mean for us? It might mean we'd look forward to learning our whole lives, not just when we're young. It might mean we'd ask more questions, follow our own paths, and feel more connected to what we study. The silence of some educational reformers wasn't just about changing textbooks. It was often about bringing back this lost sense of wonder. It was about creating a space where the light of curiosity burns bright, where mistakes are just steps on the path, and where every day holds the promise of a new discovery. Imagine finding that spark, not just in your hobbies, but in every corner of your learning journey. It's a quiet thought, but a powerful one. Have you ever stopped to think about what fair really means, especially when it comes to school? It's not just about everyone getting the same grade, and it's not about everyone being the same in every way. The idea of a fair chance in education is much deeper. It's about ensuring that every student, no matter where they start or what challenges they face, gets what they need to learn and grow. Think about it like this. Imagine a group of friends wanting to learn to play a musical instrument. If one friend has a brand new piano at home and another has no instrument at all, just saying, everyone gets to practice for an hour, isn't truly fair. The friend with the piano has a much better chance to get good. A real fair chance would mean finding a way for the friend without an instrument to get access to one, or maybe to practice at school, or to get extra lessons. It's about evening out the playing field, not by making everyone identical, but by making sure everyone has the right tools and support to succeed. For a long time, the idea of education itself wasn't fair. Only certain groups of people were allowed to go to school or get a good education. It wasn't until much later that people started fighting for everyone to have a chance. Think about pioneers who dreamed of public schools, open to all kids, no matter how much money their family had. That was a huge step. But even then, The fight didn't stop. People realized that just opening the doors wasn't enough. What about students who spoke a different language at home? What about students with disabilities? What about students from neighborhoods where schools didn't have enough books or good teachers? Here's the thing. People started asking hard questions. They wondered, how can we make sure every young mind gets the chance to shine? They understood that each student is like a unique seed. Some seeds might need more sunlight, others more water, or special soil to truly grow strong and tall. You wouldn't treat a tiny flower seed the same way you'd treat an oak tree seed. They both need care, but the care might look different. This understanding is at the heart of what many educational reformers have fought for. They saw that while everyone might sit in the same classroom, their paths to learning might be very different. Some students might need extra help after school. Others might need a special program for a certain talent. And some might just need a teacher who truly believes in them when no one else does. The goal was never to force everyone into the same mold. Instead, it was to create a system flexible enough and caring enough to meet each student where they were and help them get to where they needed to be. These reformers understood that when we give everyone a fair chance, it benefits all of us. When more people can reach their full potential, our communities become stronger, more creative, and kinder. The fight for fair chances in education is a quiet, steady push towards a world where a student's future is shaped by their own effort and dreams, not by the circumstances they were born into. It's a fight for the idea that every mind matters, and every voice deserves to be heard, not just in school, but in life, and that's why it matters. It's a dream still being built, piece by thoughtful piece. Have you ever wondered why some really good ideas never seem to take hold? It's a strange thing, isn't it? Someone has a smart plan, a way to make things better, especially in something as important as school, but then it just fades away. The voice that spoke it goes quiet. This isn't always because the idea was bad. Often, it's about the world around that idea and the many reasons why change can be so hard. Think about it like this. Imagine a tiny, strong seed, full of life, ready to grow into a mighty tree. It has everything it needs inside, the promise of a big, leafy future. But what if it lands on hard, rocky ground? What if too many other, bigger plants are already there, blocking the sun? The seed isn't bad, its potential is still real. But the conditions around it make it very hard to rise up, to take root, to bloom. This is a bit like what happened to many reformers in education. Their ideas were good, like that seed, but the world wasn't always ready for them. One big reason voices get quiet is simply resistance. People, and even large groups, often like things just the way they are. Change can feel scary. It means learning new ways, giving up old habits, or sometimes even losing power. For example, if a reformer wanted to completely change how grades work or how classes are taught, people who've been teaching the same way for 20 years might feel uncomfortable. They might worry about what it means for them. It's human nature to stick with what's known and safe, even if something new might be better in the long run. Then there's the power of big groups. Sometimes, powerful people or large organizations have a lot to lose if things change. Maybe the current system benefits them, or maybe they just believe very strongly in the old ways. It's hard for one voice, or even a small group of voices, to stand against that kind of power. Imagine trying to change the rules of a game when everyone else wants to keep playing it the old way, and the person who made the rules likes them just fine. It takes a lot of energy, and sometimes the smaller voice just runs out of steam. Another thing to think about is timing. An idea might be brilliant, but if the world isn't ready for it, it won't stick. Maybe there wasn't enough money to try new things. Maybe there was a war or a big crisis, and education wasn't the main focus. A great idea needs the right moment, the right conditions, to truly spread and become real. So, when we look back at these silenced voices, it's not always a story of failure on their part. It's often a story of powerful forces, human nature, and the tricky path of progress. Understanding this helps us see the world a little more clearly. It makes us wonder about the good ideas still waiting for their moment. And it reminds us that true change, like a strong tree, takes time to grow, often facing many difficult seasons. Have you ever sat in class, maybe listening to something new, and thought, why does this matter? Or, how does this connect to anything I already know? It's a common feeling. Sometimes, learning can feel like a jumble of facts, like pieces of a puzzle scattered on a table. They don't quite fit together yet, and you can't see the whole picture. But here's the thing about true learning. It's not just about collecting those pieces. It's about making them connect. It's about understanding how one idea leads to another, how a new concept fits into the world you already know. When learning truly makes sense, it means you see its purpose. You see its place. It feels like it belongs. Thinkers throughout history, long before schools looked like they do today, wrestled with this idea. They weren't just trying to pass on facts. They wanted to share wisdom. They believed that what you learned should connect to life itself. For ancient Greek philosophers, for example, learning wasn't separate from living a good life. It was about understanding the world deeply, so you could live in it wisely. They felt that knowledge, without understanding its true meaning, was like having a map, but no idea where you wanted to go. It just wasn't useful. Here's what I found. Your brain is always trying to make sense of things. Imagine your mind as a giant, intricate spider web. Every time you learn something new, your brain tries to weave it into that web. If the new information connects easily to threads already there, ideas you already understand or experiences you've had, then it becomes a strong part of the web. It's easy to remember, easy to use. But if the new information doesn't seem to connect to anything, it's like a loose strand floating in the air. It might not stick. It might just drift away. That's why rote memorization, just repeating facts without understanding them, often doesn't last. It's like trying to force a puzzle piece into the wrong spot. It might seem to fit for a moment, but it won't hold the picture together. So, how do we make learning stick like glue? We ask questions. We look for connections. We try to see the bigger picture. When you're learning about history, for instance, don't just memorize dates. Ask yourself, why did that happen? How did people feel? How does it affect us today? When you're learning a math problem, ask, where would I use this in the real world? This might work for you. Think about building something. Say, a model airplane. You don't just glue random pieces together. You follow instructions, yes, but you also see how each part contributes to the whole. The wing connects to the body. The engine makes it fly. Each piece has a purpose in the larger design. Learning is similar. Every concept, every fact, is a piece. But the real magic happens when you see how they all fit, how they create a complete, meaningful picture. And that's why it matters. When learning makes sense, it changes from a chore into a journey of discovery. It becomes something you carry with you, not just something you remember for a test. It helps you understand yourself, others, and the world around you in a deeper way. It builds your own unique understanding, bit by bit. It gives you a sense of belonging in the vast world of knowledge, knowing that what you learn truly has a place within you. It's a quiet, powerful feeling, realizing that all these pieces actually form a path forward. Have you ever stopped to think about the books we read in school? Not just the stories or the facts inside them, but who chose those books? Who decided what knowledge was important enough to be printed, bound, and placed into our hands? It's a quiet question, but it holds a lot of power. For many educational reformers, this was a huge deal. They wanted better books. But what does better even mean when we're talking about textbooks and learning materials? It wasn't just about clearer pictures or fewer spelling mistakes. It was about the very soul of the book. These reformers looked at the books available and saw problems. Some books were biased, meaning they only showed one side of a story or one way of thinking. Others were dry and boring, making learning feel like a chore instead of an adventure. Many books were also incredibly unfair, leaving out entire groups of people or twisting history to fit a certain viewpoint. Think about it like this. Imagine you're learning to play a complicated new video game. You open the instruction manual, hoping to understand the controls, the story, and how to win. But what if that manual was full of mistakes? What if it told you the wrong buttons to push, or completely skipped important levels, or even made you believe a character was good when they were really bad? You wouldn't truly learn the game. would you? You'd be frustrated, confused, and probably wouldn't enjoy playing. Your understanding of the game would be limited by a faulty guide. That's how many of these reformers saw the books of their time. They believed that books were the instruction manuals for life, for citizenship, for understanding the world. If those manuals were flawed, then the students using them would grow up with a flawed understanding. They saw books as powerful tools. A good book could open minds, spark curiosity, and build empathy. A bad one, however, could narrow perspectives, discourage questions, and even spread unfair ideas. Historically, the power to print and share books was often held by just a few people: governments, churches, or wealthy families. This meant that the ideas spread through books were often those that supported the people in charge. These reformers wanted to break that control. They believed that all children, no matter where they came from, deserved books that were honest, inspiring, and truly helped them think for themselves. They wanted books that presented many different ideas, not just one. They wanted books that encouraged questioning, not just memorizing. And that's why this idea was so important to them. They weren't just arguing about paper and ink. They were fighting for the very minds of future generations. They knew that the stories we read, the facts we learn, and the ideas we encounter in books shape who we become. So, when their calls for better books were silenced, it wasn't just a discussion about textbooks that stopped. It was a quieter, deeper silencing of a hope for a more open, more truthful, and more understanding world. Have you ever wondered who truly decides what happens in your classroom, or what you learn each day? Is it always the people at the top? Or do the voices of students, or those who truly understand students, get to be heard? This is a quiet, important question. Speaking up for students means making sure the very people education is for are not just present, but truly seen and heard. For a long time, schools were built on simple ideas. They were places where knowledge was passed down, like a set of facts from one generation to the next. The system often focused on what was easiest to teach to a large group, not always what was best for each unique mind in that group. It was less about the individual journey and more about everyone walking the same path at the same speed. But some people, with quiet courage, began to ask, what about the different ways we learn? What about our hopes, our challenges, our own talents? These people understood that education isn't just about filling minds, it's about growing people. They saw that if you truly wanted to help students, you had to speak for their needs, their dreams, even their quiet struggles. They understood that the most important part of any school isn't the building or the books, but the students themselves. And that's why it matters that someone speaks up for them. Here's the thing. Imagining education without considering the student is a bit like designing a beautiful, grand concert hall without ever listening to the music that will be played there, or thinking about who will sit in the seats. You might build an impressive building, but if the sound bounces wrong, or the seats are uncomfortable, then the people who come for the music won't have the best experience. The whole point of the hall is the music and the listeners. In the same way, the whole point of school is the learning and the students. So, when we talk about someone speaking up for students, we are talking about a deep act of care. It's about making sure that the design of learning fits the lives of those who are learning. It means looking beyond easy answers and thinking about what truly helps a young person grow, not just academically, but as a whole person. It's about listening closely, even when a student isn't saying anything out loud. It's about noticing when a way of teaching isn't working for everyone, or when a rule seems unfair. And then, it's about having the quiet strength to suggest a different way. It's not about being loud or making trouble. Instead, it's about a gentle insistence that every decision about education should come back to one simple question: how does this truly serve the student? In the end, speaking up for students is a continuous act of empathy. It reminds us that education isn't a fixed thing, like a stone wall, but more like a living garden. And in a garden, you don't just water all plants the same way. You pay attention to each one, understanding what it needs to truly blossom. It's a quiet, ongoing promise that no student should ever be forgotten or unheard in the grand plans of learning. Have you ever looked at something, truly looked at it, and then suddenly, you see something you missed before? Maybe a detail in a familiar painting, or a pattern in the leaves of a tree? It's like a quiet light turning on. We are talking about teachers who had this special kind of vision. They didn't just see a student sitting at a desk. They looked deeper. They saw the quiet struggle behind a distracted gaze, or the spark of genius hidden by shyness. These weren't just people who taught subjects from a book. They taught students. They understood that a student acting out might be scared, or a quiet kid might have a brilliant idea stuck in their head. It was like they had a different way of looking at the world, a lens that showed them more than what was on the surface. This idea of seeing more isn't new. For a long time, thinkers have talked about looking beyond what's obvious. Think about detectives in a story, piecing together tiny clues to solve a big mystery. They don't just see a mess, they see hints of a larger story. Or think about a doctor. A good doctor doesn't just treat a cough. They try to find out why you are coughing. They look at your whole body, your history, to find the real problem. It's about understanding that the biggest truths are often found in the quietest details, the things most people walk right past. Here's how it works in everyday life. Imagine you have a houseplant. It starts to droop. Most people might just think, oh, it needs water. But someone who sees more might check the soil. Maybe it's too wet, not too dry, and the roots are rotting. Or maybe it's not getting enough light, or the pot is too small, and its roots are cramped. They look at the whole picture to figure out the real problem. A great teacher does this with their students. They don't just see a low test score. They ask, why did this happen? They look at the whole student. Their home life, their interests, how they learn best, what makes them tick. This can help them find the real reason for a struggle. These teachers understood that education wasn't just about pouring facts into a student's head. It was about helping students grow, like that plant. It was about seeing the unique soil each student needed, the right amount of light, the perfect pot. They saw that every student was a unique garden, not just a row in a big field. And sometimes their quiet way of seeing things, their deep understanding, made others uncomfortable. It might have made the usual way of doing things seem not good enough. It's a special kind of vision, a quiet power. It means caring enough to notice the small things, the things that often go unsaid. And when a teacher truly sees you, not just your grades or your mistakes, but you, it changes everything. It makes you feel known, understood. It makes you realize that perhaps you too can learn to see more in the world around you, to look beyond the first glance, to listen beyond the first word, to find the hidden stories, the quiet struggles, the true potential in others. And that's why it matters. Maybe, in doing so, you start to see more in yourself too. Have you ever stopped to really think about what makes a school truly matter? Not just a building with classrooms, but a place that leaves a mark on you, on your community, on the world? For a long time, many schools were just about memorizing facts or learning a specific trade. They were often only for certain kids too, like those from wealthy families. But some brave people, the quiet reformers we're thinking about, had a different dream. They imagined schools as something much deeper, something more vital. They saw them as places where young people wouldn't just be filled with information, but where their whole being could grow. These reformers believed schools should help students learn how to think, not just what to think. They wanted places that taught kindness, curiosity, and courage. They wanted schools that could actually help create a better, fairer society for everyone, no matter where you came from or what your family did. Here's the thing. Building such a school isn't like assembling a toy from a kit. You can't just follow instructions and expect greatness. It's more like growing a strong, healthy tree. You don't just plant a seed and walk away. You need to prepare the soil, give it the right light, make sure it gets enough water, and protect it from harm. And even then, it takes time, patience, and constant care. Think about a friendship that truly matters to you. It didn't just happen overnight. It grew because you both put in effort. You listened to each other, you shared ideas, you learned from mistakes, and you supported one another. That's how a meaningful school is built too. It's not just about the bricks and mortar, or even just the books on the shelves. It's about the relationships built there, the ideas sparked, the questions asked, and the safe space created for all kinds of learning. It's about building a community where everyone feels like they belong and can become their best self. These reformers understood that schools could be the heart of a community, pumping life and opportunity into every home. They saw that if schools were built with care, with true purpose, and with a deep understanding of what young people really needed, they could change lives. They could break down old barriers and open up new possibilities. So, when we talk about schools that mattered, we are not just talking about buildings. We are talking about hopes, dreams, and the quiet, persistent work of people who believed in something more. They believed that education wasn't just about grades. It was about building a future, one thoughtful student at a time. And in that belief, they offered us a profound idea that what we build together, especially for our young, truly shapes the world we will live in. Have you ever felt that little knot in your stomach when something big is about to change? Maybe it was switching schools or moving to a new neighborhood. That feeling of unease or even fear is powerful. It's often why people push back against new ideas, even good ones. Here's the thing. Our brains like what they know. We build familiar pathways for how we think and act. When someone suggests a big change, it's like asking us to build a whole new road. That takes effort. It feels uncertain, and uncertainty can feel scary. It's not always that the idea is bad. It's often about the effort to get used to something new and letting go of what felt comfortable. Think about this. For a long time, people believed the earth was flat. It made sense. The ground felt flat. The sun seemed to go around them. Then, smart people said, "No, the earth is round. It goes around the sun." Imagine that feeling. It wasn't just a new fact. It challenged everything they knew about their place in the world. It felt like the ground under their feet was shifting. That could make people very uncomfortable, even angry. They might ignore new ideas or try to silence those who speak them. It's similar in education. Say you're used to sitting in rows, listening, and taking notes. That's how school has always been. Then, someone says, "What if we learn by doing projects? What if we work in groups? What if there are no grades?" For some, that's exciting. For others, it might feel like chaos. It's different. It's unknown. And even if it's meant to help students learn better, the change itself can feel like a threat. People might worry about losing familiar rules, control, or their routine. The educational reformers we talk about, the ones whose ideas were often quieted, faced this. They saw problems in how things were taught. They dreamed of better, fairer ways. But to make those dreams real, they asked many people to step off familiar paths. They asked teachers to teach differently, students to learn differently, parents to trust new methods. That's a huge ask. It takes courage to propose such changes, knowing they will meet resistance. So, when we think about why some brave voices in education were silenced, it's not always because their ideas were wrong. Sometimes, it was just because their ideas were too new. They challenged what was comfortable and known. They asked people to embrace the uncertainty of change. It reminds us that progress often steps into uncomfortable spaces. Being truly open to new thinking means accepting that big changes feel scary, not just for us, but for everyone. Have you ever tried to change something important, only to find a wall of resistance? Maybe you wanted to try a new way to do a group project, but your friends insisted on the old method. Or maybe you suggested a different strategy for the school team, and the coach stuck to tradition. This feeling, this push and pull, is what happens when someone tries to make a change and others resist it. That resistance is pushing back. It's not always because people are mean or stubborn. Sometimes people push back because new ideas can feel unsettling. The old ways are familiar. They feel safe. We know how they work. A new idea, even a really good one, means stepping into the unknown. It means letting go of what we're used to. And sometimes, people push back because the change might mean they lose something. Maybe power, maybe comfort, maybe just how they understand the world. This isn't a new thing. If you look back through history, you see it everywhere. Think about the way people learned about the solar system. For a long, long time, everyone believed the Earth was the center of everything. It felt right. It fit with their understanding of the world. Then, people like Copernicus and Galileo came along. They looked at the stars and planets and said, actually, the Earth goes around the sun. That was a massive, scary idea. It challenged everything people thought they knew. And guess what? Many people pushed back. Hard. Their ideas were ignored, argued against, even condemned. It's like trying to move a big, heavy rock. It's been sitting there for ages. Everyone walks around it. It's just part of the path. Then someone says, hey, let's move this rock. It's blocking the way, and we could build a smoother path. Some people will grab shovels and help, but others will say, no, it's always been there. It's too big. What if we break something? They push back against the effort to move it. They might even try to stop the people with the shovels. The rock itself isn't pushing back, but the idea of moving it, the effort to change the path, meets resistance from those who prefer things as they are. Educational reformers are often like those people trying to move the rock. They see problems in how we learn, how schools are run, or who gets to learn. They have ideas for better paths. They say, let's try a new way to teach math, or maybe we should teach different subjects, or everyone deserves an education, not just a few. These ideas can sound amazing to some, but to others, they're like a challenge. Teachers, parents, politicians, or even just general public opinion might push back. They might argue that the old ways work fine, that new ideas are too risky, or that they cost too much. Sometimes, these reformers' voices were ignored. Sometimes, their careers were ruined. Their ideas were often silenced, kept from spreading, or simply forgotten for a time. But here's the quiet truth. Even when an idea is pushed back, even when it seems to disappear, it doesn't always vanish forever. Sometimes, the idea just sits there, like a seed waiting in the soil. It waits for the right time, for the right conditions, for another person to come along and remember it. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What good ideas are out there right now? Ideas that someone pushed for, but were met with too much resistance. Are they just waiting for us to rediscover them? Have you ever sat in a classroom and just wondered, really deeply, if learning could be different? Not just a little bit different, but truly, fundamentally different. For a very long time, people have held onto this feeling. It's a quiet hope, a persistent idea that maybe school doesn't have to be exactly what it is right now. This is the dream of a different class, a wish for a kind of education that feels more natural, more alive, and more connected to who you are. The simple idea behind this dream is that learning isn't just about memorizing facts or passing tests. It's about becoming more fully yourself, about understanding the world and finding your place in it. Think about it. Our brains are designed to be curious. We are wired to explore, to question, to figure things out. And for centuries, some thinkers have looked at how we learn best. Outside of textbooks and rows of desks, they imagine schools not as places where information is poured into you, but as places where your own curiosity is gently woken up and encouraged to grow. Long ago, when most people lived on farms, kids learned by doing. They helped their families, they watched, they imitated, they tried. That was their school. Then, when factories became common, schools started to look a bit like factories too. Everyone on the assembly line did the same thing, at the same pace. It made sense for training workers quickly. But some people always felt that this way of teaching, with everyone doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, didn't really fit how human beings learn. They saw that each person is unique, with different strengths and different ways of seeing the world. They asked, what if education could respect that? Here's a way to think about it. Imagine you're trying to learn a new skill, like playing the guitar or maybe even mastering a complicated video game. Do you just read a huge book about it? Or do you pick it up, mess around, try things, fail, and then try again? Most likely, you learn by doing. You practice, you listen, you make mistakes, and slowly your brain connects the dots. This kind of learning, where you are actively involved and deeply interested, feels powerful. It sticks with you. That's the feeling reformers dream of bringing into every classroom. They believe that when you are truly engaged, when you feel connected to what you're learning, It's not work, it's discovery. So, this dream of a different class, it's not a loud, angry demand. It's more like a quiet question whispered through the years. Can school be a place where we truly come alive? Can it be a journey of finding out who we are, what we love, and how we can best contribute to the world around us? It's a dream built on the simple yet profound belief that every student has a light inside them, and education should be about helping that light shine, not dimming it. It's a wish for learning that nurtures the whole person, not just the part that can fill in bubbles on a test. Have you ever wondered why some lessons stick with you long after the test is over? Or why a certain teacher just seemed to see things in a different way? For centuries, schools often worked in a very set way. Students sat, listened, and were expected to remember facts. Learning was mostly about filling your mind with information, like pouring water into a glass. But here's the thing. Some teachers looked at that glass and thought, what if we could teach students how to find the water themselves, how to build their own well? These were the teachers who taught differently. They weren't just following a rule book. They believed learning was more than memorizing dates or formulas. They felt it should be about understanding, about connecting ideas, and about thinking for yourself. These educators often saw the unique spark in each student, knowing that not everyone learns the same way. They understood that sometimes the best way to learn isn't by sitting still and listening, but by doing, by asking, or even by making mistakes. Think about it like this. Imagine learning to play the guitar. One teacher might give you a book of chords and tell you to practice them perfectly, and that works for some. But another teacher might hand you the guitar, show you a simple tune, and then encourage you to try different sounds, to experiment with the strings, to even try making up your own song. They might tell stories about famous musicians, not just focusing on technique, but on the joy and emotion of music. This second teacher isn't ignoring the rules. They're just using a different path to help you truly feel the music, not just play notes. They're helping you discover the music within you, not just copy what's on the page. Historically, this way of thinking wasn't always popular. For a long time, schools were built on order and strictness. Changing how things were done could be seen as rebellious, even risky. Teachers who tried new methods might have been misunderstood by parents, school leaders, or even other teachers. Their ideas, though aimed at helping students learn more deeply, sometimes faced resistance because they didn't fit the usual mold. But they kept going, driven by a deep belief that every young mind deserved a chance to truly awaken, to question, and to explore the world with curiosity. These quiet acts of teaching differently, of daring to step outside the usual way, left a powerful mark. They showed us that education isn't just about what you know, but about how you know it. It's about igniting a passion for discovery, helping you see the connections between subjects, and encouraging you to think critically about everything around you. These teachers might not always have had statues built in their honor or big awards, but their legacy lives on in every student whose mind they opened, whose curiosity they sparked, and whose unique way of seeing the world they helped to nurture. They remind us that the deepest learning happens when we're truly engaged, truly questioning, and truly ourselves. Have you ever wondered why we do things the way we do? Sometimes it feels like there's a path everyone follows, a road already built. But what happens when someone looks at that road and thinks, there has to be a better way to get there? This is often what we mean by old rules versus new thoughts. It's not just about school, but it's easy to see it there. Imagine school has always been a place where students sit in rows, quietly listening to the teacher, writing down every word. That's the old rule, a long-standing way of doing things. It made sense to many people for a very long time. It felt stable and organized. But then, a new thought whispers into the room. What if students learned better by talking, by doing, by exploring, by working together? What if movement helped understanding? These new thoughts don't always try to smash the old rules down. Sometimes, they just stand beside them, quietly, showing a different possibility. It's like seeing a familiar old house. It's always been there, sturdy and strong. Then, someone suggests adding a big window, letting in more light, changing the feeling of the whole place. It's still the same house, but it breathes differently. This isn't a new fight. Humans have always had to deal with new ideas bumping up against old ways. Think about the very first doctors. They learned about the human body by looking and guessing. That was the old rule. But then, new thinkers, new scientists, started to carefully observe, to test, to use logic. They discovered invisible tiny things, germs, that made people sick. That was a truly new thought. It changed everything about how we understand health. It wasn't easy to accept at first. People held onto the old ways because they were comfortable, familiar, and seemed to work well enough. But the new thought, based on evidence, slowly grew stronger, eventually becoming the new understanding. Here's the thing. When a new thought comes along, it can feel disruptive. It can make people uncomfortable. It asks us to question what we've always believed. It asks us to look closely at the old rules, not just follow them because they are old. Sometimes the old rules are there for a good reason, built on wisdom. But sometimes they are just habits, ways of doing things that no longer fit a changing world. Consider a simple everyday example. Think about how we used to navigate. For a long time, people used paper maps. They were the old rule for finding your way. You unfolded them, traced your finger along the roads, and tried to figure out turns. Then, new thoughts came along. Digital maps, on phones, GPS. They were instant. They spoke directions. They updated in real time. For many, switching from paper maps to phone apps felt strange at first. It was a new way of trusting technology. But it was also undeniably more efficient for many journeys. The silence we sometimes find in history, the untold stories of people who champion new thoughts, often comes from this tension. These individuals often dared to ask, is there another way? They saw possibilities beyond the established lines. They imagined different paths for learning, for growing. They understood that the world itself is not standing still. And so our ways of understanding it and teaching it shouldn't either. It takes courage to quietly present a new idea, especially when the old rules are deeply set. It takes a certain kind of strength to believe in a different future, even when it feels like no one else sees it yet. And so, we are left to wonder, what old rules are we still holding on to? And what new thoughts are waiting to show us a better way forward? It's a quiet challenge, an invitation to see the world with fresh eyes. Always. Have you ever had an idea that just felt right? Something clear in your mind? But when you told someone about it, they just didn't quite get it. Maybe they even pushed back or said it sounded silly. It's a strange thing, but new ideas often have a tough time, even really good ones. Here's the thing. We humans, we like what we know. We find comfort in the familiar. It's like when you've always walked the same path to school, and then someone suggests a new one. Even if the new path is shorter or prettier, you might hesitate. The old path is safe. You know what's there. The new path feels uncertain. This feeling, this natural pull towards what's known, has been around forever. For centuries, people believed the earth was the center of everything. They thought the sun, the moon, and all the stars moved around us. It just made sense, looking up at the sky. Then, a few brave thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo came along. They said, actually no, the earth moves around the sun. This wasn't just a simple science fact. It was a huge idea that turned everything people thought they knew upside down. It challenged old beliefs. It made people feel uncomfortable, even threatened. And so, they resisted. They found reasons not to believe it. It was easier, and felt safer, to stick with the old way, even if it wasn't completely true. Think about something simpler, something more recent. Remember when everyone had flip phones or phones with little buttons? We learned to text with those tiny keypads. It was how things worked. Then, touchscreens started showing up on phones. This was a totally new idea for how to interact with a phone. Some people probably said, why would I want a phone without buttons? That's just silly. It felt different, maybe even fragile. But here's what happened. The touchscreen idea was actually better. It allowed for more features, more space on the screen. It just took time for people to get used to it. It took time for them to see its real value. The old way, the buttons, felt safe and known. The new way, the touchscreen, felt uncertain. So, it took a while for it to catch on, but eventually it did. This resistance to new ideas, it's not always because people are mean or trying to be difficult. Most times, it's because change makes us feel unsure. It asks us to let go of what we're used to. It asks us to rethink things we thought were settled. And that's hard for anyone. It takes courage to introduce a new idea, and it takes even more patience to help others understand it, to help them walk through that feeling of fear or discomfort. Because the path of progress, the path of learning and growing, it often begins with an idea that many people first found troubling. Have you ever thought about who school is really for? Is it for the fast learners, or the ones who need more time? Is it for those who love math, or those who dream in colors? For a long time, people have asked these questions. They've imagined a school where every single person feels seen, a place where everyone belongs, no matter how their mind works or where they come from. This isn't just about open doors. It's about opening minds and opening hearts to how different we all are. It's about designing a space where differences are not problems to fix, but strengths to celebrate. Imagine a school where everyone, truly everyone, can grow, learn, and shine in their own way. This idea, a school for everyone, isn't new. It's an old dream, whispered through centuries. Ancient thinkers, way back in time, wondered about the best way to teach all young people. Later, reformers in different eras picked up this idea. They saw how some schools only served a few, leaving many behind. They believed that education wasn't a luxury for some, but a right for all. They dreamed of systems that didn't just teach facts, but helped each child become their full self. They imagined a world where learning was a path open to every journey. Think about a garden. Not every plant needs the same amount of sun or water. A sunflower needs lots of bright light and space to grow tall. A fern prefers cool, shaded corners and damp soil. If you tried to grow all plants the exact same way, some would struggle. They wouldn't reach their full height or bloom their brightest colors. Human minds are a bit like that garden. Some of us thrive when we listen to a lecture. Others learn best by doing things with our hands. Some need quiet, focused time, while others do better working in groups. If a school only offers one way of learning, it's like giving all the plants in the garden the same sun and water, no matter what they actually need. A school for everyone tries to provide different kinds of light, different types of soil, different amounts of water. It tries to nurture every kind of learner. It's a quiet hope, isn't it? The hope that every child, every young person, gets the chance to discover their own unique abilities, that they find their voice and feel supported in their own learning journey. This dream lives on, carried by those who believe in fairness and the boundless potential within each of us. It reminds us that a true education isn't about sorting people into boxes. It's about building a wide, welcoming path where everyone can walk and learn and become who they are meant to be. It's a gentle, powerful idea that keeps pushing us forward, even when the path is hard. Voiceover. Have you ever stood in front of a closed door? Maybe it was a door to a new opportunity, a special room, or even just a conversation you wanted to join. What does it feel like when that door finally swings open for you? When you realize you're allowed in, that there's a place for you on the other side? For a long, long time, the door to learning, to true education, was locked for many people. It wasn't always open to everyone. Here's the thing. History tells us that education used to be mostly for a select few. Maybe it was just for boys, or only for those who had a lot of money. People who didn't fit into those groups often found the path to knowledge blocked. Their minds, their ideas, their potential were simply left outside. So, who are the people who open doors? They are the brave individuals who looked at those locked doors and saw a problem. They didn't just see a barrier, they saw an injustice. These were the educational reformers. They weren't just talking about better textbooks or different teaching methods. They were fighting for the basic right to learn, for everyone. They believed that every person, no matter their background, their gender, their skin color, or how much money their family had, deserved to walk through that door into a world of knowledge. Imagine you're trying to build something amazing, like a complex robot or a beautiful painting, but you're missing a crucial tool, or you don't have the right colors, and no one will let you into the workshop where those things are kept. That's a bit like how it was for many people who wanted to learn. The workshop of knowledge existed, but the entry was denied. The door openers, they found ways to unlock that workshop for more and more people. They built ramps, they forged new keys, they even broke down some walls so more people could get in. Think about a small, dark room. It's dusty, and you can barely see anything inside. But then, someone notices a window, maybe covered by vines or dirt. They clear away the mess, and suddenly, sunlight streams in. The room doesn't just get brighter, it feels bigger, more hopeful. That window is like an open door to understanding. These reformers often faced huge resistance. People told them no. They were laughed at, sometimes even punished. But they kept pushing because they understood something really important. When you open a door to learning for one person, you don't just help that one person. You light up a whole room. You change a family. You change a community. And sometimes, you change the whole world. Their work reminds us that true education isn't about keeping secrets or hoarding knowledge. It's about sharing, inviting, and making sure every single person has the chance to explore, to question, and to grow. It's about building a future where no mind is left behind, simply because a door was closed. And that's why their stories matter, even today. They teach us that opening doors, even just a little, can be the most powerful act of all. Have you ever had a truly great idea, something that just made sense, but then it never actually happened? You might have thought of a better way to do something, or a new rule that would help everyone. But maybe someone in charge just said, "Number." That's what we're talking about here. When people who hold power decide to stop a new idea, even a good one. Here's the thing. Power isn't always a bad word. It just means having control or influence. Think of the principal at your school, or the mayor of your town. They have the power to make decisions. So, when power says no to educational reform, it means that those who are in charge, those who can make rules or set budgets, decide that a new way of teaching or learning won't be put into place. For centuries, people have tried to make education better. They've wanted schools to be fairer, or more interesting, or more helpful for students' futures. But changing big systems, like schools, is really hard. It's like trying to turn a giant ship. It moves slowly, and it takes a lot of effort to change its direction. People in power often feel comfortable with how things are. They might worry that new ideas will cost too much money, or mess up things that are already working okay. Maybe they're afraid of what parents might say, or how it will affect test scores. It's not always about being mean or not caring. Sometimes, it's just about sticking to what feels safe and known. New ways of thinking can challenge old ways of doing things, and that can feel like a threat to the people who built those old ways. Imagine you and your friends are working on a big group project in English class. You all come up with an amazing creative idea for how to present your work. Maybe a short podcast series instead of a written essay. You are super excited. You've planned it all out, thought about the script, and even who will do what. But when you bring it to your teacher, they say, "No, everyone has to write a 5-paragraph essay." They might explain that the essay is easier to grade, or that it's what the school usually expects. Your idea wasn't bad. In fact, it might have been really good. But it didn't fit the existing rules or what the person in charge was used to. The teacher, in this moment, had the power to say, "No," and that stopped your creative reform. This simple example helps us understand why so many educational reformers, people with bright, hopeful ideas, have been silenced. Their ideas weren't always wrong or unhelpful. Many times, they were brilliant. But they came up against a system that preferred to stay the same. It makes you wonder about all the great ideas that never got to bloom, simply because they didn't fit the mold, or because those with the power to change things chose to keep things as they were. It reminds us that sometimes, the biggest challenge isn't having a good idea, but convincing others to believe in it and let it grow. Have you ever wondered what true courage looks like? We often think of bravery as something loud, something that happens on a big stage, with cheers and applause. But what if courage is something quieter? Something that moves like a deep current, unseen, but powerful enough to shape the world? Here's the thing about educational reformers, especially those whose voices were silenced. Many of them showed a kind of quiet courage. It wasn't about grand speeches or public protests, though those are important too. For many, it was about a steady, unyielding belief in a better way to learn, even when no one else was listening. It was about facing resistance, dismissiveness, or outright opposition, and still choosing to move forward, one small step at a time. Think about how a mighty river carves a canyon. It doesn't happen overnight. There isn't one sudden giant flood that creates the deep gouge in the earth. Instead, it's the constant patient flow of water, day after day, year after year, for centuries. Each drop, each tiny current, contributes to the slow, powerful force that shapes the landscape. That's what quiet courage can be like. It's the persistent drip, drip, drip of an idea, a principle, a quiet effort that, over time, changes the world around it. These reformers often worked behind the scenes. They taught one student differently, wrote one letter, shared one new idea with a hesitant colleague. They understood that big changes often begin with small, individual acts of defiance against the way things have always been. They saw a problem in the education system. Maybe it was too rigid, not fair to everyone, or simply not helping students truly learn, and they felt a deep pull to make it better. They didn't seek fame or recognition. They just quietly, stubbornly, kept trying to open minds and create opportunities. It's like how a plant can push through concrete. You don't see the plant rage or shout. It simply grows, slowly, persistently, finding the tiniest crack, and then expanding, using its quiet, living force to break through something hard and unyielding. That steady, internal drive, that deep commitment, is a powerful kind of strength. So, when we think about these silenced reformers, it's not just about the voices that were hushed. It's also about the inner strength that allowed them to keep going, even when it felt like no one cared, or when their efforts were dismissed. Their courage wasn't for show. It was woven into their very being, a quiet determination to do what was right for students and for the future of learning. And that, in its own way, is one of the most powerful kinds of courage there is. It reminds us that even the quietest efforts can echo through time, shaping the paths we walk today. Have you ever wondered if there's more to learn than what's written on the pages of your history or science book? Sometimes, the stories we read are just one part of a much bigger picture. Textbooks are important. They give us a foundation, but they can't tell us everything. They often focus on the widely accepted ideas, the winners, the discoveries that made it big. But what about the ideas that didn't catch on? What about the people who tried to change things, but whose voices were quieted? Looking beyond the textbook means asking questions. It means digging deeper. It means realizing that knowledge isn't just a list of facts to memorize. It's a living, breathing thing, full of different viewpoints and forgotten paths. Think about history. When we learn about science, we hear about Newton or Einstein. When we learn about society, we hear about famous leaders. And that's useful. But for every well-known person, there were many others with different thoughts, different ways of seeing the world. Some of them challenged what everyone believed was true. Philosophers, thinkers throughout time, have often said that true understanding comes from questioning. It's like Plato, an old Greek philosopher, who talked about people living in a cave, only seeing shadows. He said real knowledge means turning around and seeing the light, even if it's uncomfortable. It means not just accepting what's presented to you. This isn't about saying textbooks are wrong. It's about understanding they're incomplete. They are a starting point. There's so much more beneath the surface. Imagine you're trying to solve a big puzzle. Your textbook gives you the box cover, showing you what the picture should look like when it's done. But what if some pieces are missing from the box? Or what if someone glued some pieces together wrong, and you don't even know it? You'd never get the full, true picture by only looking at the box cover. Here's the thing. Real understanding is like finding those missing pieces. It's about talking to different people, reading other books, even listening to ideas that seem strange at first. It means learning about the people who weren't in the official story, the reformers who wanted to teach differently, but maybe didn't get their chance. Think about a new scientific idea. For a long time, people believed the Earth was flat. The textbook of their time said so. But then, brave thinkers dared to look beyond that accepted fact. They questioned, they observed, and eventually they showed the world was round. It wasn't about saying the old books were useless, but about growing beyond them. So, when we talk about looking beyond the textbook, we're talking about curiosity. We're talking about respect for all the voices, even the quiet ones. It's about remembering that learning is a journey, not just a destination. It's about understanding that our world, and our understanding of it, is always evolving. It's about making space in our minds for the what-ifs and the who-elses. Because sometimes, the most profound lessons, the deepest truths, are found not in what is shouted, but in what has been whispered, or even silenced, for too long. This journey of looking beyond helps us see the full, complex, beautiful truth of history and knowledge, and that's why it matters. Have you ever stopped to wonder if there are important lessons, big ideas, that somehow didn't make it into your textbooks? It's a strange thought, isn't it? We learn so much. But what if there's a whole other history hiding in the shadows? Here's the thing. Sometimes, the most powerful ideas are the ones that get silenced. Not because they're wrong, but because they're too different. They might make people uncomfortable. Imagine a world where everyone believes the sky is green. They've always believed it. All their maps show a green sky. Then, someone comes along and says, "Wait, look closely. The sky is actually blue." What happens? Most people would probably laugh. Some might get angry. They might even try to shut that person up. Why? Because changing what everyone believes is hard. It shakes things up. It means admitting that what you thought was true wasn't. This isn't just about the color of the sky. This is about ideas. Especially ideas about how we learn, how we grow, and how school should be. For a very long time, people have had brilliant, fresh ideas about education. They dreamed of schools that were more fair, more engaging, more about helping you think for yourself. But these ideas often challenged the way things were already set up. They pushed against old traditions. So, here's what happened. Many of these brave thinkers, these dreamers, found their voices quieted. Their books weren't widely read. Their teachings weren't spread. Their names didn't make it into the history lessons. It wasn't always a dramatic silencing, like someone putting a hand over a mouth. Sometimes it was quieter. Their ideas were just ignored. They faded away, like a whisper in a loud room. Think about it like this. For thousands of years, people believed the Earth was the center of the universe. Every star, the moon, the sun, everything moved around us. It made sense. It felt right. Then a few brave astronomers, like Copernicus and Galileo, started saying, "No, wait, the Earth actually moves around the sun." This was a huge, uncomfortable idea. It went against everything people thought they knew. They faced disbelief, anger, and even punishment for their new ideas. But here's what's important. They were right. Their silenced ideas eventually shone through. The lesson they didn't teach you is that history isn't just a list of facts and famous names. It's also a story of what was lost, what was pushed aside, what was too challenging for its time. It's a reminder that truly great ideas often face resistance. They might even be forgotten for a while. So, what does this mean for you? It means developing a quiet curiosity. It means learning to look beyond the obvious. It means understanding that some of the most profound truths might be found in the voices that were once silenced. It teaches us to question, to seek out different perspectives, and to appreciate the courage of those who dared to think differently, even when no one else was listening. It's about finding the missing pieces of our collective story, and in doing so, understanding our world a little more deeply. Have you ever sat in a classroom and felt like your ideas just didn't matter? Like your thoughts, your questions, or even your struggles weren't really heard? Here's the thing. For a long time, in many schools, student voices weren't truly valued. Education was often about adults telling students what to learn, how to learn it, and what to think. It was less about students being part of the conversation. But what does student voice even mean? It's more than just speaking up in class. It's about students having a real say in their own learning. It means their experiences, ideas, and opinions are taken seriously when decisions are made about what gets taught, how it's taught, and what the school feels like. It's about being seen not just as someone who receives information, but as an active person with thoughts and feelings that shape the whole learning experience. It's about respect. Think about it this way. For centuries, children were often seen as empty jars waiting to be filled with knowledge. The grown-ups were the ones who had all the answers, and the job of the young person was to simply listen and memorize. But then, some brave thinkers and teachers started to question this idea. They saw that true learning, the kind that sticks with you and makes you curious, often comes from within. They believed that students learn best when they are truly engaged, when they feel like their journey of discovery is their own, not just something forced upon. These reformers argued that for education to truly work, it had to connect with the student's own world, their own questions, and their own natural curiosity. It wasn't always an easy argument to make. Many people held onto old ways. Imagine your family is planning a vacation. Your parents might have some ideas, like where to go or what to do. But imagine if they asked you, what kind of trip would make you truly happy? What do you want to explore? What are you curious about? And then, they actually listened to your answers and tried to make some of your ideas part of the plan. Maybe you suggest a day at a science museum, and they include it. That's what it feels like when your voice is heard. The trip becomes better for everyone, because everyone feels like they contributed, like their desires mattered. It makes the whole experience richer and more meaningful, not just for you, but for everyone involved. Education works in a similar way. When students have a say, when they feel like they are part of shaping their own learning journey, the whole experience becomes deeper, more personal, and far more powerful. So, when we talk about the fight for student voices, we're remembering those quiet heroes. They understood that true learning isn't just about facts and figures. It's about connecting with your own mind, finding your own path, and knowing that what you think and feel truly matters. Their work, even when it was difficult, opened the door for a kind of education that is richer, more human, and more respectful of every young mind. It reminds us that every voice, especially yours, holds unique value. Have you ever stopped to really think about how much power a single thought holds? How one small idea, just a whisper in someone's mind, could actually grow and change everything around it? It sounds almost unbelievable, but it happens all the time. An idea isn't like a rock or a building. You can't touch it. You can't see it. It's just this tiny spark, a connection in your brain. But that spark can light a fire. It can challenge old ways of doing things, or old ways of thinking that have been around for hundreds of years. Sometimes, these ideas are about big things, like how the universe works. But often, they're about something much closer to home, like how we learn, or how we treat each other. Think about history. So many big shifts in the world started with just one person having a new idea. For a very long time, most people believed the earth was flat. It seemed obvious, right? You look around, and it looks flat. But then, brave thinkers started to wonder. They had an idea that maybe, just maybe, the earth was actually round. At first, people probably laughed. It was a crazy idea. But that one thought, that single new way of seeing the world, eventually changed everything we knew about our planet and how we explore it. It opened up new journeys, new maps, new understandings. Here's the thing. You experience the power of ideas even in your daily life. It's kind of like when you're trying to figure out a really tough puzzle. You stare at all the pieces, and nothing seems to fit. You might get frustrated. But then, suddenly, one little idea pops into your head. Maybe you try turning a piece a different way, or you see a color connection you didn't notice before. It's just one small shift in how you're looking at it. And then, click, everything starts to fall into place. The whole puzzle starts to make sense, all because of that one new thought. It works the same way with bigger challenges, especially in how we learn. For years, schools might have done things one particular way. But then, someone might have an idea. What if we try teaching this subject differently? What if we give students more time to explore their own questions? What if we change the classroom setup? It seems like a small suggestion, just one idea among many. But sometimes, that one idea can unlock a new way of teaching, a better way for students to understand, a method that makes learning truly exciting for everyone. And that's why it matters. So, the next time a new thought sparks in your mind, especially one that quietly questions the way things are done or suggests a different path, Pause for a moment. Don't dismiss it as just a small thing. Remember that every big change, every moment the world shifted for the better, started with a single, brave idea. It reminds us that even the quietest idea can hold the loudest future. It's about seeing the potential in every new thought, no matter how small it seems. Have you ever wondered why new ideas, even really good ones, often get pushed back? Why do people sometimes say, "That can't be done," when someone proposes something fresh and different? It's a question worth thinking about, especially when we talk about changing something as big as education. Here's the thing. Humans, most of us anyway, like what's familiar. We find comfort in the way things have always been. Our brains are wired to keep us safe, and change, even good change, can feel a little bit like a threat. It asks us to step out of our comfort zone. It asks us to imagine a world that isn't quite here yet, and that can be hard. So, when someone suggests a new way of teaching, a new kind of school, or a completely different way to learn, the first reaction from some people isn't always, "Wow, great idea." It's often, "But that's impossible. That's too much work. That will never work." This isn't new. Not at all. Think about the past. When someone first suggested that the Earth wasn't flat, or that we could actually fly in machines through the sky, what do you think most people said? They probably laughed. They probably said, "Don't be silly. That's just how things are. You can't change gravity. The Earth is flat. Everyone knows that." But here's what happened. People kept questioning. People kept trying. And eventually, those impossible ideas became part of our everyday world. Imagine telling someone 150 years ago that you'd have a tiny device in your pocket that could connect you to almost all the information in the world. And you could talk to friends across oceans instantly, or even see their faces while you talk. They would likely say it's magic, or a crazy dream that could never happen. It was beyond what they could imagine. And yet, here we are, doing that every single day. It's a lot like trying to learn a completely new skill that feels totally out of reach at first. Maybe it's playing a really complex piece of music, or understanding advanced math. When you first look at it, it seems impossible. Your brain might say, "Nope, not for me, too hard." But then you break it down, you practice, you learn step by step, and suddenly, what felt impossible starts to feel possible, then hard, and then, with enough effort, you can do it. So, when the educational reformers we talk about in this program came forward with their ideas, they faced this same wall of impossible. Their ideas might have seemed too expensive, too radical, too difficult to put into practice. They wanted to change schools to be places that truly prepared students for a changing world, to think differently, to be more curious. Many people said no. They said it couldn't be done. They argued that the old ways were good enough, or that any new way would simply fail. But here's the calm, deep thought for us. The word impossible often just means not yet done. It means we haven't found a way yet. And sometimes it just means we're afraid to try. The people who push for change, the reformers, are the ones who don't hear impossible as a stop sign. They hear it as a challenge. They hear it as an invitation to find a new path, to try harder, to imagine a better way. Their courage reminds us that the biggest changes often start with someone bravely saying, "But what if we could?" Have you ever had an idea, a really good one, that no one else seemed to get? Maybe it was a different way to play a game, or a better system for organizing your locker, or even a new way to understand a tricky math problem. You saw something clearly, but to others, it just looked strange or wrong. Well, imagine that feeling, but on a much bigger scale. This is about people who saw the future of learning. They looked at schools, at how kids were taught, and they saw a different, better way. They imagined a world where education wasn't just about memorizing facts, but about understanding, about growing, about truly becoming who you were meant to be. These were people who saw problems that others didn't even notice, and they dreamed up solutions that felt far away, almost like magic. Here's the thing. Big systems, like the way a whole country teaches its children, are very hard to change. Think about a giant ship turning in the ocean. It moves slowly. For centuries, most schools have been set up in pretty similar ways. There's a teacher in front, students in rows, lessons from a book. It's a method that's been around for a long time. So, when someone steps forward and says, "What if we did it totally differently? What if learning wasn't like this at all?" it can be hard for others to grasp. Their ideas felt too new, too risky, or even just too strange for the time they lived in. Throughout history, there have always been these thinkers. They looked ahead, past the usual ways of doing things. They believed education could be a tool for freedom, for fairness, for helping every single person find their own unique strength. They saw that just because something had always been done one way, it didn't mean it was the best way. Think about a famous example from science. For thousands of years, almost everyone believed the Earth was the center of the universe. The sun, the stars, everything revolved around us. It felt right, because that's what it looked like from here. But then, people like Nicolaus Copernicus and later Galileo Galilei came along. They looked at the same sky, but they saw something different. They used new ways of thinking and observing, and they realized that actually, the Earth was going around the sun. This idea was incredibly radical for their time. People laughed at them, argued with them, and even punished them, because their vision challenged everything people thought they knew. They saw a truth that was invisible to most others, a truth that felt backwards to what everyone believed. Educational reformers are a bit like that. They saw a different truth about how human minds learn and grow. They saw that sometimes, the very way we were trying to teach was actually holding students back. They imagined schools where kids could explore their own interests, where classrooms were places of joy and discovery, not just quiet obedience. They dreamed of education that helped kids think for themselves, question things, and solve real-world problems. Sometimes, their ideas were simply too far ahead of their time. The world wasn't ready to listen. Their voices were quieted, their visions dismissed. But even if their particular school didn't get built, or their books weren't widely read, their ideas didn't just disappear. They became like seeds, waiting. They show us that courage isn't just about fighting battles, but sometimes it's about seeing a different future and holding on to that vision, even when you're standing all alone. And maybe, knowing this helps us look a little closer at new ideas today, ready to see the future in our own time. Have you ever looked at a problem and thought, there has to be another way to solve this? Or maybe you learned something really well, but it wasn't by reading a textbook or sitting in a lecture. Sometimes, the most powerful lessons happen when we step outside the usual way of doing things. This is what we mean by teaching outside the box. It's about more than just changing classrooms. It's about seeing learning as a wide open field, not just a narrow path. Here's the thing. For a long time, education has often felt like a very straight line. You go to school, you sit in rows, you listen to a teacher, you take notes. And that's one way to learn, for sure. But some deep thinkers throughout history have wondered if that's the only way for everyone. John Dewey, a thinker from about 100 years ago, believed kids learn best by doing, not just by listening. He thought school should connect to real life, helping students explore and solve problems together. This was a big idea. Learning doesn't only happen inside classroom walls. Imagine for a moment you're trying to bake a cake for the first time. You could read a recipe, measuring everything perfectly. That's a good start. But maybe your grandma or an older cousin shows you. They don't just read the recipe aloud, they show you how the flour feels, how the batter should look. They let you get your hands messy. They might say, "We add a little extra vanilla here." You're learning by doing, by seeing, by feeling. You're getting wisdom not found in the book. That's a kind of teaching outside the box. It's practical, it's personal, and it sticks with you because you experienced it. This helps you truly understand how things work. The idea behind teaching outside the box is simple. Learning doesn't have to be limited. It doesn't always have to look the same for everyone. It can be loud, it can be quiet, hands-on, or just watching. It means every brain takes in information differently. Sometimes, traditional methods just don't fit. So, instead of forcing everyone into the same mold, we look for ways to bend it, or even break it entirely. And that's why this idea matters. Those who pushed for teaching outside the box wanted learning to feel more alive. They saw that true understanding comes from curiosity, from asking why, and what if, instead of just accepting because. It takes courage to try new ways, especially when old ways feel safe. But when we think differently about how we learn and how we teach, we open up new possibilities. It's about valuing quiet discoveries, messy experiments, and questions without easy answers. It's about remembering that the journey of learning is just as important as the destination. Have you ever known something was true, deep down, but felt like no one else could see it yet? Like you had a piece of the puzzle, but the rest of the world was still looking at a completely different picture? This feeling, this strange foresight, is at the heart of what it means to be right too soon. It's when an idea is correct, even brilliant, but the world around it isn't ready. Maybe the technology isn't there, or people's minds aren't open enough, or the old ways are just too strong. So, the truth you see, the solution you offer, it doesn't get accepted. It might even get laughed at, or worse, punished. Think about Galileo Galilei. He looked at the stars and planets with his telescope. He saw proof that the Earth revolved around the sun, not the other way around. Today, every student learns this. It's a basic fact. But when Galileo said it, it went against what everyone believed. The powerful church and many respected thinkers said he was wrong. They put him on trial and forced him to say his ideas were false. He spent his last years under house arrest. He was right, but he was right too soon. The world wasn't ready for that truth yet. The ideas were too new, too big a change. And here's the thing. This isn't just about science. It happens in every part of life, including how we learn. Many people who wanted to change schools, who dreamed of new ways to teach or different things to learn, faced this same problem. They saw that the old ways weren't working for all kids. They had ideas for classrooms that were more exciting or lessons that truly helped students think for themselves. But often, their ideas were too far ahead of their time. People said no. The system resisted. They were trying to build a bridge to the future, but everyone else was still happy on the old side of the river. Imagine you have a great idea for a new kind of backpack. It has tiny solar panels to charge your phone, and it adjusts its weight, so it always feels light. You show it to your friends, but they just shrug. Why do we need that, they ask. My old backpack is fine. No one understands how useful it could be. So your amazing idea just sits there. Then, maybe 10 or 20 years later, someone else invents something similar, and suddenly everyone loves it. They were ready then, but you were right years before. It's a quiet burden, sometimes, to know a truth that others can't grasp. It can feel lonely. It takes a certain kind of strength to hold on to your beliefs when the world tells you you're wrong. But here's the important part. Even if those who were right too soon faced hardship, or were ignored, their ideas didn't always disappear. Those seeds of truth, planted quietly, often wait. And one day, years or even generations later, the world finally catches up. The ideas bloom. And when they do, it's often because someone brave dared to think differently long, long ago. It teaches us to be open, to listen, and to wonder if perhaps someone today is whispering a truth we're just not ready to hear yet. Have you ever stopped to think about fairness, not just in a game, but in something like school? We often imagine school as a place where everyone gets the same chance. Same books, same teachers, same tests. But if we look a little closer, we might see that school isn't always fair, not in the way we usually think about it. Here's the thing. Fairness isn't just about equal rules. It's also about equal starting points and equal opportunities. Imagine a race. If everyone starts at the same line, that seems fair. But what if some runners have super expensive running shoes and others are running barefoot on rough ground? What if some have been practicing every day with a coach and others just learned about the race yesterday? They're all in the same race, but it doesn't feel quite fair, does it? For a long time, schools weren't even meant for everyone. Back in history, only certain groups of people were allowed to learn or given the best schools. Think about it. If you were poor, or if you belonged to a certain race or gender, your chances for a good education might have been much, much smaller. People built schools to help society, but sometimes they built them in ways that left many others behind. This wasn't always on purpose, but it happened, and the effects of those old ways can still be felt today. The idea that everyone deserves a good education, no matter who they are or where they come from, is a relatively new one in the long story of human history. Let's think about it this way. Imagine two students, Alex and Ben. Both are in the same 8th grade class. They both get the same math homework. Alex goes home to a quiet house. Their parents are teachers, and they can help with tricky problems. Alex has a fast computer and a good internet connection for research. Ben, on the other hand, lives in a noisy apartment. Their parents work 2 jobs and aren't home until late. Ben has to share a slow tablet with a younger sibling, and the internet often cuts out. When they both take the test, Alex might do really well. Ben might struggle, even if Ben is just as smart. The school gave them the same homework and test, but their starting lines were very different. It's like those runners, some with good shoes and some without. Understanding this isn't about blaming anyone. It's about seeing the bigger picture. It's about realizing that sometimes the system itself can create uneven playing fields. This is what many educational reformers throughout history saw. They noticed these unfairnesses, these imbalances, and they dared to speak up about them. They wanted to smooth out the rough patches, to make the race fairer for everyone, so that every student, no matter their background, had a true chance to learn and grow. It's a deep problem, a complex challenge, but recognizing it is the first step toward building a world where education can truly lift everyone up. Have you ever held a thought inside, a really big idea, because you wondered what might happen if you said it out loud? Maybe it was a new way to do a school project, or a different way to solve a problem. It's a quiet worry many of us share. Speaking up, especially when you're suggesting change, means putting your idea out into the world. It's about challenging the way things are. It's brave to do this. But here's the thing. When you suggest something new, especially something that might change how people think or do things, the world doesn't always welcome it with open arms. Think about people throughout history who saw a better way, a different truth. From ancient thinkers who believed the earth was round when everyone else thought it was flat, to scientists who found new cures for sicknesses, these voices often met resistance. People are comfortable with what they know. New ideas can feel scary. They can shake up old beliefs, and old beliefs can be like very old sturdy trees with deep roots. Shaking them up can make people feel uneasy, even angry. So, when someone speaks up, what happens? Sometimes, their voice creates ripples, like a pebble dropped into a quiet pond. At first, the ripples might be small. Some people might ignore them. Others might push back. They might laugh or say, "That's a silly idea." Or they might try to make that person feel small and alone. This isn't always about literal silencing, like someone being forced to be quiet. It can also mean being dismissed, or having your ideas simply not heard, or being forgotten. Imagine this. Your class has always done presentations on a giant poster board. But you think, what if we made a short video or a podcast instead? You suggest it to your teacher and classmates. At first, some kids might roll their eyes. "That's too much work," someone might grumble. The teacher might hesitate, thinking about how new it is. This is that initial resistance. It's the discomfort with change. Your idea is good, but it challenges the usual. It takes courage to keep speaking, even when faced with that first wave of pushback. Many educational reformers faced this exact challenge. They saw new, better ways for students to learn, for schools to be organized, for knowledge to be shared. They spoke up, often with passionate, hopeful voices. But their ideas were sometimes met with walls of tradition, fear, or a simple refusal to listen. They were silenced not always by force, but by indifference, by being ignored, or by systems that didn't want to change. But here's the quiet truth. Even when a voice is silenced, the idea itself might not truly die. That ripple still exists. It might take years, or even decades, but sometimes those quiet ripples turn into big waves. The act of speaking up, of trying to create change, is powerful, even if the world isn't ready for it at that moment. It plants a seed, and often those seeds sprout much later, long after the first voice has faded. It reminds us that every voice has the power to begin something, and that the echo of courage can last longer than silence. Have you ever sat in class and wondered why school is set up the way it is? Why do we have bells and subjects and tests? It feels so normal to us now, like it's always been this way. But here's the thing. It hasn't always. For a long, long time, people thought about learning in many different ways. And even after schools started to look more like they do today, some incredibly thoughtful people looked at it and asked, but what if it could be different? What if it could be better? These were the minds that questioned school. They weren't just complaining. They were deep thinkers, philosophers, and teachers who genuinely cared about how young people learned and grew. They saw that the way things were done might not fit every single person, or even the way our brains naturally work. They wondered if true learning was really about sitting still and memorizing facts, or if it was something much bigger, something more active. Think about how doctors used to treat illnesses a long time ago. For hundreds of years, if you were sick, a doctor might try things that we now know don't really help, or might even hurt. But then, quiet, thoughtful doctors started to observe more closely. They asked, why do some people get better with this, and others don't? Is there another way? They started to look at how the body actually worked, not just what was written in old books. It wasn't about tearing down hospitals. It was about figuring out how to heal people in a truly effective way. It's the same idea with education. These reformers looked at how kids learned outside of school, when they played, when they explored, when they were curious about something. They saw that learning felt natural and exciting then, but sometimes, inside the school walls, that excitement seemed to fade. So they wondered, could school become more like that natural, exciting kind of learning? Could it be less about stuffing information into your head, and more about helping you figure things out for yourself? They asked big questions. Does everyone learn at the same speed? Should we all learn the exact same things? In the exact same way? What if a child is amazing at building things, but struggles with writing? Should they be made to feel less smart? These thinkers imagined a place where curiosity was the main guide, where mistakes were part of learning, and where understanding mattered more than just remembering. Their ideas often went against what was popular or easy. Some people didn't understand them, or didn't want things to change, and so many of these thinkers were silenced in different ways. Maybe their ideas were ignored, or maybe they faced criticism. But even when their voices were quieted, their ideas didn't completely disappear. They planted seeds of thought, and that's why it matters to us today. Because every time you wonder why you're learning something, or how you could learn something better, you're tapping into the same spirit of questioning. It reminds us that knowledge isn't just about what's given to us. It's also about what we seek, what we challenge, and what we discover for ourselves. It's about keeping our minds open, always curious, always ready to imagine different, deeper ways of understanding the world. Have you ever felt like your thoughts were stuck in a box? Like you had ideas bubbling inside, but there was no real way to let them out, to explore them, to make them grow? This feeling, this idea of learning being trapped, is something people have wrestled with for a very long time. Think about it this way. Learning isn't just about memorizing facts or repeating what someone else says. True learning, deep learning, is about understanding, questioning, connecting new ideas. It's about letting your mind wander, make mistakes, and then try again. But what happens when that natural curiosity, that need to explore, gets squished down? For centuries, in many parts of the world, learning was kept very controlled. Sometimes, only certain people were allowed to read and write. Knowledge was like a secret, passed down to a few, instead of being shared with everyone. It was as if a powerful, ancient library existed, but most doors were locked. If you weren't born into the right family, or didn't have special permission, you couldn't get in. You couldn't even peek through the windows. This wasn't because people were dumb. It was because systems were set up that way. Some believed that too much knowledge for everyone might disrupt the way things were, might make people ask too many questions about power or tradition. Imagine you're learning to play a musical instrument, like a guitar. Your teacher gives you a book of songs. You can play every note perfectly, exactly as written. You memorize the finger placements, the chords, the rhythm. You can play the whole book from memory. But what if you're never allowed to try a new chord? Never allowed to make up your own melody? Never allowed to just jam and see what sounds good? You'd be a master at playing pre-written songs, but you wouldn't truly be a musician. Your understanding of music would be trapped inside those preset notes. You wouldn't know how to create, only to copy. That's a bit like what happens when learning feels trapped. The potential to create, to innovate, to truly understand something new is held back. This isn't just about the past, though. Sometimes, even today, learning can feel limited if we're only taught to pass a test, or if there's only one right answer to every question. When the focus is only on what to know, not on how to think, learning can become a chore. It can feel heavy, like a burden instead of light, like an adventure. The quiet struggle of those who tried to change this feeling of learning being trapped is a powerful story. They weren't just fighting for better schools or more books. They were fighting for something deeper, the freedom for every mind to truly breathe, to question, to explore, and to understand the world in its own way. They believed that learning shouldn't be a cage, but a wide open sky. They wanted knowledge to be a key that unlocks new paths, not a chain that holds us still. Their quiet acts of rebellion, their brave words, helped us imagine a world where learning isn't just about what you're told, but about what you discover. And that's why their stories matter so much. Have you ever paused to wonder why school is the way it is? We sit in classrooms, we read books, we learn facts. This feels normal. It feels like the only way. But what if it isn't? What if people, through history, have thought about learning in completely different ways? Here's the thing. For a long time, education was very fixed. It was often about memorizing. You sat still, you listened, you copied, and you did not question. Knowledge was passed down, like a heavy stone, and you were expected to carry it. This worked for some, but others looked at this system and saw something missing. They saw minds that felt squashed, spirits that felt bored. These people were the rebels of education. They weren't rebels with weapons or loud shouts. Their rebellion was quiet. It was about ideas. They believed learning should be about sparks, not just facts. They thought school should make you curious, not just make you remember. They wanted to free minds, not just fill them. These brave thinkers saw that forcing everyone into the same box didn't help anyone truly grow. They asked tough questions. They wondered if there was a better path. A path where students could discover things for themselves. A path where learning felt like an adventure. Consider this. Imagine you're learning about fractions in math class. Your teacher shows you one way to solve a problem. It's the standard way, step by step. You follow along. But then, a rebel teacher comes along. They show you a completely different way to think about fractions. Maybe they use pizza slices, or a game, or a simple trick that just makes sense in your head. It's faster. It's clearer for you. But some people might say, that's not how we've always taught it. Or, that's not in the textbook. This new, simple way might be seen as strange or even wrong. That's a bit like what these educational rebels faced. They found new ways to help minds connect with ideas. But the old ways were strong. People were used to them. It's hard to change what everyone believes is normal. And that's why it matters. Many of these rebels had powerful ideas that could have changed school for the better for so many. But often, their voices were quieted. They were told their ideas were too strange, too new, or too difficult to try. Their proposals might have been ignored. Their schools might have been shut down. They might have been dismissed as dreamers. But here's the quiet power of their story. Even though they were silenced, their questions remain. Their ideas still echo. They remind us that the way we learn isn't set in stone forever. It can change. It should change if it means helping more people truly understand. These silent rebels show us that questioning things, even big things like school, is important. It's how we grow. It's how we find new ways to light up the world with understanding. And it reminds us to always be curious, to always ask, what if, when it comes to our own learning journey? Have you ever thought about how an idea, once it's born in someone's mind, can never truly be destroyed? It's a strange thought, right? We talk about silencing people, stopping movements, or shutting down new ways of thinking. But the ideas themselves, the core thoughts, are much harder to kill than the people who share them. Here's the thing. An idea is like a seed. You can try to bury it deep in the ground. You can try to cover it with rocks or pour concrete over it. You can even try to make sure no one ever talks about it again. But if that seed has life in it, if it's true or if it's meant to help, it finds a way. It might sprout slowly. It might take years, even generations. But often, it pushes through the dirt, cracks the concrete, and reaches for the light. Think about so many educational reformers throughout history. Many of them were silenced. Some were ignored, some were laughed at, and some faced really serious trouble for what they believed. They had ideas about how schools could be better, how learning could be more fair, or how every single student deserved a chance. Maybe they believed in teaching girls when no one else did, or they thought all kids, rich or poor, should learn the same things. For a long time, their ideas might have seemed to vanish. The people who spoke them were gone. The books were maybe even burned. But the ideas themselves? They lingered. They got whispered from person to person. A teacher might remember a small part of a banished teaching method and try it in secret. A parent might read an old, hidden paper and be inspired. Sometimes, the world changes just enough, and suddenly, that old idea doesn't seem so strange anymore. It makes sense. It feels right. And then, it starts to grow. It's a bit like when scientists in the past thought the Earth was the center of the universe. For a long time, if you said the Earth went around the sun, you could get into a lot of trouble. People were silenced for that idea. But the truth of how the planets move didn't go away. It was still the truth. Slowly, with new tools and new thinking, that idea finally broke through and became what everyone accepts today. The truth of the planet's movement was a seed that refused to die. So, when we think about the people who were silenced, we should also think about what they stood for. What were their ideas? Because even if their voices were quieted, the power of their thoughts might still be with us today. Many things we now take for granted in education, like having public schools, or teaching in a way that helps everyone learn, or even believing all kids are smart, these were once new, even dangerous ideas. They were ideas that someone, somewhere, tried to silence, but they didn't die. They just waited, and then they grew. And that's why they matter so much. Have you ever stopped to wonder why, even with so many new ideas and brilliant thinkers, some schools seem to look and feel much like they did for your grandparents, or even their grandparents? It's a deep question, isn't it? We hear about people wanting things to be better, trying to make big changes, but then we look around, and some things just stay the same. Here's the thing. Big systems, like our school system, are a lot like a giant old ship. It's not easy to turn. Once it's sailing in a certain direction with a certain speed, changing its course takes a huge amount of effort and a lot of time. It's not usually because people don't want good things. It's more complicated than that. Think about it this way. Societies, for a very long time, have liked things that are stable and predictable. When something has been done a certain way for many, many years, it starts to feel normal. It feels safe. People get used to the rules, the schedule, the way classes are taught. This isn't just about school. It's how humans often work. We build habits. Imagine trying to completely change a daily habit you've had for years, like how you brush your teeth or the path you take to school. Even if a new way is slightly better, it feels strange at first. You might forget. You might fall back into the old way without even thinking about it. That's a bit like how big institutions work. The old ways are deeply grooved. They are like paths worn smooth over hundreds of years. Education, as we know it, has very old roots. For centuries, schools were designed to pass down information in a very direct way. Teachers taught, students listened. That was the main idea. Over time, buildings were built for this. Textbooks were written for this. Even the way we measure learning, with tests and grades, grew from this traditional way of thinking. So, when someone comes along with a new idea, like letting students explore more, or learning outside, or grading differently, it means changing not just one thing, but many, many connected things. Sometimes, the cost of change is too high, or seems too risky. People worry about what might be lost, even if they know something could be gained. It takes courage to step into the unknown. It takes a lot of agreement from many different people: parents, teachers, lawmakers, the community. And getting everyone to agree on something new is incredibly hard, especially when the old way, even with its flaws, feels comforting and familiar. So, when we look at why some schools stayed the same, even when brilliant people tried to change them, we see the quiet strength of tradition. We see the deep human need for things to be certain. And we see how the slow, steady current of how things have always been can be a powerful force, sometimes quietly stronger than the loudest calls for change. It reminds us that true change, the kind that lasts, often moves at the pace of generations, not just years. Have you ever stopped to think about why you learn what you learn in school? It might seem like the subjects in your classes are just there, like they've always been decided, and everyone agrees on them. But here's the thing. What gets taught, and how it gets taught, has been a quiet, ongoing battle for a very long time. This isn't a battle with armies and weapons. It's a fight over ideas, values, and the future. It's a deeply important discussion about what we, as a society, believe is essential for young people to know. Who decides what history is important enough to teach? What science? What books you read in English class? These aren't simple questions. For hundreds of years, people have argued about this. Think about ancient times. Some societies taught kids how to hunt, how to farm, or how to build strong houses. Survival was key. Other places, like ancient Greece, focused on how to speak well, how to think logically, or how to understand the stars. It wasn't about teaching everything. It was about teaching what that community believed was most important for its people to thrive, or for being a good citizen in that world. As the world changed, education changed too. When factories became common, people needed workers who could follow instructions and work together. When new ideas about freedom and individual rights appeared, some argued that schools should teach people to think for themselves, not just to obey. So, what schools teach is always a reflection of what society values at that moment. But not everyone agrees on those values. And that's where the battle starts. Consider your brain like a garden. Every lesson, every book, every idea you encounter is a seed planted there. But who chooses which seeds get planted? Is it just the gardener, the teacher, or do the people who will eat the food from the garden, or live in the world shaped by the garden, also have a say? What if some people believe you need to plant a lot of math seeds, because numbers are everywhere in our modern world, and others believe you need more creativity seeds, so you can imagine new things and solve problems in fresh ways? What if someone else says, no, we really need history seeds, so we don't repeat old mistakes and understand where we came from? This isn't about being right or wrong. Not really. It's about different people holding different beliefs about what matters most. Sometimes, these groups have very strong ideas, and they push hard for their vision of what education should be. This can lead to debates about what subjects are required, what topics are covered within those subjects, and even which specific books are allowed in school libraries. This battle over what kids learn shows how much we care. It means we care deeply about the next generation, about what kind of world you will inherit, and what kind of people you will become. It's a conversation that helps shape the future, one classroom, one lesson, one idea at a time. It's a sign that education is not a finished product, but a living, breathing thing, always being shaped by the world around it and by the hopes people have for those who will come next. Have you ever felt like someone truly saw you? Not just your name or your grades, but you, the real you, with all your big ideas and maybe some secret worries. It's a powerful feeling, isn't it? To be understood, to be believed in. Here's the thing. Throughout history, there have been people who felt that way about all students, about young people like you. They looked at schools, at how things were taught, and thought, we can do better. We can help every young person truly shine, truly grow. These were people who saw something special in the human mind, something worth nurturing with care and intention. Think about a time when learning was mostly about sitting still, memorizing facts, and not asking too many questions. Education was often seen as just passing on information, like filling an empty cup. But then, some brave thinkers pushed back. They said, no, learning should be about exploring. It should be about asking questions. It should be about finding your own path. It's about growing into the unique person you're meant to be. They believed everyone deserved that chance, no matter where they came from or what their background was. They saw a spark in every single student. It's a lot like when you're trying to learn something new, maybe a tough math problem or a complex idea in science. You struggle, right? And maybe you feel stuck. Then, a teacher or a friend explains it in a totally different way, a way that suddenly makes sense. And you think, wow, they understood how I think. They saw I just needed a different path to get it. That person believed you, could get it. They just needed to find the right key. The silenced reformers we talk about were these kinds of people, but on a much bigger scale. They were visionaries. They saw schools not just as places to learn facts, but as places to grow people. They believed in your natural curiosity. They believed in your unique way of thinking. And they believed in your right to be truly educated, not just trained for a job. They imagined a world where every student felt seen, heard, and truly understood. But here's the problem. Their ideas were sometimes too big, too different, or too challenging for the way things were at the time. So, they were ignored. Their voices were quieted. Their ideas were pushed aside. They faced powerful resistance because what they proposed wasn't always easy or comfortable for those in charge. And that's why it matters. Even though their voices might have been silenced long ago, their belief didn't die. It lives on. It echoes in every good teacher you've had. It lives in every interesting lesson that made you think. It lives in every moment you felt truly engaged, like your mind was waking up. It's a quiet reminder that someone, a long time ago, imagined a world where you could truly thrive in learning. They believed in your potential. They believed in the unique brilliance inside you, even before you were born. And that, in a deep and quiet way, is a beautiful legacy. Have you ever stopped to wonder why school is the way it is? Why do we learn what we learn, and in the way we do? For as long as schools have existed, people have looked at them and thought, could we do this better? This question, this quiet wish to improve how we learn and teach, is at the heart of what we call educational reform. It's not about tearing things down, it's about trying to build something stronger, fairer, and more inspiring for everyone. Think of it like this. School is a huge ship, carrying generations of students on a long voyage. For centuries, thoughtful people have watched this ship sail. They've noticed when the winds change, or when the old maps don't quite fit the new world. They've wanted to adjust the sails, or redraw the maps, so the ship can sail more smoothly, reach new destinations, and help every single passenger on board truly grow. It's a natural human desire to seek progress, especially when it comes to something as vital as how we prepare young minds for the future. Throughout history, from ancient Greek philosophers to thinkers in bustling modern cities, people have dreamed of a perfect way to share knowledge. They knew that what you learn and how you learn it shapes who you become. So, this isn't a new idea. It's an old, quiet hum that has always been present. Many believe that if education could be made better, stronger, and more available, then society itself would improve. They saw learning not just as something you do in a classroom, but as a path to a better life for individuals and for entire communities. Here's an everyday way to think about it. Imagine you're trying to solve a big, tricky puzzle with a group of friends. At first, you might just grab pieces randomly, but then someone might suggest a better way. Hey, let's start with the edges. Or maybe we should sort the colors first. That little idea, that small change in strategy, makes the whole process smoother and more effective. Changing how a school works, or what it teaches, is a lot like that. It's about finding a better strategy for helping every single student fit their own unique pieces into the big picture of knowledge, without getting stuck or giving up. But here's the thing about trying to change big systems, even for good reasons. It's rarely easy. There are so many parts to a school: teachers, students, parents, rules, traditions, budgets. Like a vast, complex machine, even a small adjustment can create ripples. And sometimes, the very people who try to suggest these thoughtful, hopeful improvements find their voices silenced. Their ideas, meant to brighten paths, are instead pushed into the shadows. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What happens when these voices are quieted? What do we lose when we stop listening to those who dream of smarter, kinder, more effective schools? Maybe the struggle for smarter schools isn't just about what we learn. Maybe it's also about whether we have the courage to keep asking important questions and to truly listen to the answers, no matter how quiet the whisper. Have you ever stopped to think about why some really good ideas that could make things much better, sometimes just don't happen? Or why people might even fight against a clear path forward? It's a strange thing. We often imagine progress as a straight line, always moving forward, always getting better. But here's the truth. It's almost never like that. Progress often gets pushed back. It gets slowed down. Sometimes, it even gets silenced completely. This isn't just about someone not liking a new flavor of ice cream. This is about deep changes, ideas that challenge how we think, how we learn, how we live. For centuries, people have tried to make education fairer, more useful, more connected to real life. But when those ideas appeared, they often hit a wall. Why? Because change, even good change, can be uncomfortable. It can threaten the way things have always been done. And for some people, the old ways were just fine, especially if those old ways kept them in charge or comfortable. Think about it this way. Imagine your school has always used paper textbooks and notebooks for everything. Then, someone suggests that every student should have a small, powerful tablet or laptop. It could open up a whole new world of learning, letting you explore subjects in amazing ways, watch videos, and connect with people all over the world. It sounds like a fantastic idea, right? But here's the thing. Suddenly, there are lots of worries. Some people might say it's too expensive. Others might worry students will just play games. Teachers might feel they don't know how to use the new technology. The school board might say it's too much work to change everything, even though the idea could clearly make learning better. All these reasons, all this pushback, can cause the idea to be set aside, perhaps for years, or even forgotten. It's not that the idea was bad. It just ran into a wall of worry and tradition. This is similar to what happened to many educational reformers. They saw problems. They imagined better ways to teach, new ways to help students truly learn, not just memorize. Maybe they wanted schools for everyone, not just the wealthy. Maybe they believed in hands-on learning instead of just listening to lectures. But their visions often went against powerful groups, against old traditions, or against the simple human discomfort with anything new. Sometimes, these reformers were ignored. Sometimes, they were laughed at. And sometimes, their voices were actively quieted. Their work stopped because their ideas were seen as too radical, too disruptive to the established order. So, when we consider these silenced reformers, we're not just looking at sad stories from the past. We're seeing how brave individuals tried to light new paths, and how often those lights flickered in the strong winds of resistance. It reminds us that progress isn't just about having good ideas. It's also about finding ways to overcome the fear, the comfort, and the power that cling to the old ways. It helps us understand that even if an idea doesn't immediately succeed, its truth, its value can linger, waiting for a different time, a different moment, to finally take root and grow. And that's a deep thought worth holding on to. Have you ever wondered about the ideas that never quite bloomed, or important messages that faded before we could truly hear them? Imagine someone with a brilliant thought, something that could make our schools much better. But for some reason, their voice was quieted. It got lost, or simply ignored. This isn't just about sad stories. It's about the paths we didn't take, the lessons we missed. For hundreds of years, people have tried to make education better. They saw things that could be different, clearer, more helpful. These were the educational reformers. Many had amazing ideas about how we learn, how teachers could teach, or what subjects we should study. But here's the thing. Their ideas often challenge the way things already were. Changing old ways is hard. People like what they know. They feel safe with the usual. So, a new way of thinking can feel like a threat. Their suggestions might be pushed aside, sometimes even silenced. Their voices, full of hope, became just whispers. Think about this. A long time ago, most people believed the sun moved around the earth. It seemed like common sense. But then, brave thinkers like Galileo Galilei said something different. They had proof, good reasons to believe, the Earth actually moved around the sun. This was a huge, new idea. It completely changed how people understood the universe. But many people at the time didn't want to hear it. They told Galileo his ideas were wrong, even dangerous. His voice, speaking a truth that eventually became clear, was silenced for a while. He was put under house arrest, not allowed to teach freely. It took a long time for his ideas to be fully accepted. It's similar with education. Sometimes, a reformer has an idea that might seem strange or too different. They might suggest that learning should be more hands-on, or that grades aren't the best way to measure what we know. They might say that every student learns differently, and school should adapt. These ideas could have changed school for the better, making it more engaging or fair. But like Galileo, their voices were sometimes ignored. The world wasn't ready to listen, or powerful people didn't want things to change. So, when we talk about these silenced reformers, we're really talking about missed chances. We're thinking about the potential that faded before it could truly shine. It makes us wonder, what if we had listened? What if those brave voices had been heard, truly heard, back then? How might our schools, and even our world, be different today? Perhaps we'd be learning in ways that feel more natural, more exciting. It's a quiet thought, but a powerful one. It reminds us that every voice holds a potential new way forward, and maybe the most important lesson is to always keep our ears open, to really listen for those whispers of change, even when they sound different or unexpected. Because sometimes, the voices we should have heard are still out there, waiting for someone to finally pay attention. Have you ever studied really hard for a test, remembered everything perfectly for a day, and then felt like it all just vanished from your mind? Like the facts floated away as soon as the test was over? What's the real difference then between just knowing something for a moment and truly understanding it in a way that sticks with you for a long, long time? Schools mostly focused on making kids memorize things. It was about copying facts, repeating lists, and reciting information back to the teacher. This was often called rote learning. Think of it like a human recording machine. You hear it, you say it back. And for certain things, like learning your multiplication tables or important dates, memorization can be helpful. But here's the thing. Some deep thinkers, people who cared a lot about how young minds grew, started asking if this was enough. They wondered if just memorizing facts truly prepared kids for life. These reformers, these people who wanted schools to be better, believed that real learning wasn't just about filling your head with facts. It was about teaching you how to think. It was about making connections, solving problems, asking why and how instead of just what. They saw that remembering a fact is one thing, but understanding why that fact matters or how it connects to other things, that's where the power is. That's where you start to really learn. Here's an example. Imagine you're learning about space. You could memorize that the Earth orbits the Sun and that the Moon orbits the Earth. You could learn the names of all the planets in order. That's good information to know. But what if you stop there? You might not truly understand why the Earth stays in orbit, or why astronauts float in space, or how gravity works. To really get it, you need to think beyond the simple fact. You need to understand the invisible forces at play, the scientific principles that explain why things happen the way they do. You need to connect those facts to bigger ideas, to ask questions that go deeper. You need to think about how it all fits together, not just remember the pieces. These reformers believed that if schools only taught memorization, they were missing a huge part of what it means to be human. They felt that learning should spark curiosity, not just dull it. They wanted kids to be active explorers of knowledge, not just passive receivers. They understood that when you learn how to think, you can take on new problems, understand new ideas, and keep learning long after school is over. It's about building a strong mind, one that can question, create, and adapt. And that, they hoped, would lead to a richer, more meaningful life, full of wonder and discovery. Have you ever tried to fix something you really cared about? Maybe it was a broken toy or a messy room. or even just trying to get your friends to try a new game. Sometimes, fixing things is simple, but other times, especially when you're trying to fix big systems like how schools work, it gets really complicated. It's not just about having a great idea, it's about facing all the reasons why people might not want that idea to happen. People get used to how things are. Even if things aren't perfect, they feel safe and familiar. So, when someone suggests a big change, it can feel like a threat. It can make people uncomfortable, even if the change is meant to make things better in the long run. Think about it. For a long time, people believed the earth was flat. Anyone who said it was round, well, they faced a lot of pushback. It wasn't because people were dumb or couldn't understand a sphere. It was because changing that one idea meant changing everything they thought they knew about the world, about where they stood in it. It felt unsettling. That's a bit like what happens when someone tries to change an education system that's been around for a long time. It's not just about right or wrong ideas, but about what humans do when their world feels shaken. Imagine your school has a long-standing tradition. Maybe a certain way the student council elections are run. And you, or a group of students think, hey, we could make this way better, more fair, more interesting. So you come up with a new plan. You present it. But then you hear things like, that's not how we've always done it. Or, what if it messes things up? Or even, who are you to change things? The old way works just fine. It's not that people are bad. It's that changing a system, even a small one, means upsetting how things have been. It means asking people to learn new ways, to let go of old comforts. And that's the price. The price of trying to fix things is often facing that pushback. It's facing doubt, criticism, and sometimes even being ignored or silenced. People who try to change the way we learn, the way schools work, they aren't just presenting ideas. They're trying to shift deeply set habits, beliefs, and even power structures. And that can be a lonely, hard path. It takes real courage to stand up and say, we can do better, when everyone around you is comfortable with good enough. So, when we look at the reformers who were silenced, it's not always because their ideas were bad. Often, it's because their ideas were so powerful, so different, that they threatened the comfortable quiet of what already existed. It tells us something deep about humans and change. It reminds us that trying to make things better, even when it's hard, is a necessary part of growth. And even if a voice is silenced for a time, the idea itself can linger, waiting for a future moment to bloom. It shows us that true progress often asks for a kind of brave patience from those who dare to dream of a different tomorrow. Have you ever had a really good idea? Something you just knew would make things better, but it never quite happened. Here's the thing about big ideas, especially when they try to change something huge like how we learn. It's not always about whether the idea is good or bad. Sometimes, it's about how incredibly hard it is to make big systems move. Think about history. People have always come up with brilliant new ways of doing things. But societies, schools, even just groups of people, tend to like what they know. It feels safe. Changing things can feel scary, even if the change is good for everyone. This goes deep into how humans are wired. We often resist what's new because it means letting go of what's comfortable, what we're used to. It's a very human thing. Imagine you've always walked the same path to school every single day. Your feet know every crack, every turn. It's familiar. Then someone says, hey, there's a new path. It's shorter, and there are cool trees along the way. Even if it's true, even if it's better, switching paths means you have to learn something new. You might worry about getting lost. Or what if the new path isn't really better? You might just stick to the old one because it's easy and predictable. For the people who tried to reform education, it was like trying to shift an entire mountain, not just a pathway. They had incredible visions for how learning could be more fair, more engaging, or more useful. But there were so many parts to consider. Teachers, parents, textbooks, rules, money, and simply what people believed school should be. Every one of those parts had its own weight, its own history. Some people might have felt threatened by new ideas. Maybe they worried about losing their jobs, or that their kids wouldn't learn the right way for tests. Sometimes, People in charge just don't want to give up their power or change how things have always been done. It isn't always about one bad person saying no. It's often about many small no's from different places, or just the sheer weight of everything staying the same. The quiet power of what is familiar can be incredibly strong. So, when we look back at those amazing people who tried to change education, and we see that some of their big dreams didn't quite come true, it doesn't mean their ideas were bad. It doesn't mean they failed. It means they were trying to move mountains. It reminds us that real change is slow. It takes incredible patience, deep understanding, and often many voices speaking up over generations. It teaches us to appreciate the courage of those who dared to dream of a better way, even when the world resisted. And it makes us wonder, what mountains are we trying to move today? What does it really mean to learn? Is it just remembering dates for a test, or being able to list facts about a subject? For a long time, and even now, many schools have focused on something called rote learning. That's when you memorize things without truly understanding them. Think about repeating words until they stick, like a parrot, but not knowing what those words mean deep down. But here's the thing. Many brave people, the silenced reformers, saw a problem with this. They believed learning should be about more than just remembering. They fought for real learning. This kind of learning is about understanding. It's about connecting ideas, seeing how things fit together, and making sense of the world around you. It's about thinking for yourself, not just repeating what someone else said. Imagine a world where school felt like a factory. Early schools, especially during the Industrial Revolution, sometimes worked like that. Kids were taught to sit still, listen quietly, and repeat information. The goal wasn't always to help them think creatively or question things. Sometimes it was about training them to follow rules, to be good workers later on. This wasn't because people were mean, but because that's how society was organized. The reformers pushed back against this factory model. They argued that every young person deserved more than just assembly line education. They deserved a chance to truly think. Let's think about something simple, like riding a bike. You can read a book about riding a bike. The book might tell you about balance, about pedaling, about steering. You could even memorize every single word in that book. But would you truly know how to ride a bike? Number. You wouldn't feel the wobble, the wind, the moment your balance clicks. To really learn to ride a bike, you have to get on it. You have to fall a few times. You have to do it. That's the difference between memorizing and real learning. Memorizing is like knowing the book about the bike. Real learning is like actually riding it. When you truly learn, you don't just have facts in your head. You have skills. You have understanding. You can take what you've learned and apply it to new situations. You can solve problems you've never seen before because you understand the principles. Consider a basketball player. They don't just memorize plays. They practice. They feel the ball. They learn how their body moves. They react in the moment. They understand the game, not just the rules on paper. That's real learning in action. It's about building a mental model of how something works, not just a list of facts. So these reformers weren't just complaining. They were dreaming of schools where curiosity was king, where questions were celebrated, not just answers. They wanted places where students could explore, discover, and build their own understanding, instead of just receiving information. They believe that when you truly understand something, it stays with you. It becomes a part of how you see the world, how you solve problems, how you grow. The fight for real learning is a quiet one. It's not about big battles. It's about the daily struggle to make education meaningful. It's about helping young people become thinkers, not just rememberers. And that's why it matters. Because when you truly learn, you don't just gain knowledge, you gain power. The power to understand, to question, and to shape your own path. And that's a power no one can silence. Have you ever looked at something everyone just accepts and thought, but why is it that way? That simple question, why not, is powerful. It's what drives people to change things, to make them better. When we ask why not, we're saying we see another way, a different path. We're challenging the way things have always been. For a long time, many things were done just one way. People believed that's how it had to be. Like, imagine a classroom centuries ago. Kids sat in rows, memorized facts, and didn't talk much. That was just school. But then, some people started to wonder, why not teach in a different way? Why not let kids explore, ask questions, or learn outside? This kind of thinking isn't new. Think about ancient Greek philosophers. They didn't just accept what everyone told them. Socrates, for example, was famous for asking questions. He would question everything, even common ideas. He made people really think. And sometimes, asking those questions made powerful people uncomfortable because it challenged their authority. In every period of history, there have been people who saw the world not just as it is, but as it could be. They didn't just follow the rules handed down to them. Instead, they looked at the rules and asked, are these rules the best rules? Are they fair? Are they helping everyone? Think about something simple, like a bicycle. For a long time, bikes were big, clunky, and hard to ride. They worked, but they weren't great. Someone could have just said, well, that's how bikes are. But instead, someone else looked at it and thought, why not make it lighter? Why not add gears to make hills easier? Why not make it safer? And because they asked why not, bikes became what they are today. Faster, easier to use, and much better. Or consider how we understand the human mind. For a long time, people thought our feelings and thoughts were just simple reactions. But then, scientists and thinkers started asking, why not explore how our memories work? Why not try to understand why we feel certain emotions? And because of those why not questions, we now have a much deeper understanding of ourselves and each other. The people we talk about in this series, the educational reformers, were like those question askers. They saw how schools were set up, and they didn't just nod their heads. They looked at the system, at the students, at the teachers, and they asked, why not a better way? Why not a more caring way? Why not a way that truly helps every young person grow? Their questions came from a deep hope. A hope that learning could be more than just memorizing facts. A hope that education could truly light up minds and prepare people not just for a job, but for a thoughtful, full life. And that's why their questions, even when silenced, still echo today. They remind us that the greatest changes often begin with the simplest, most powerful question, why not? Have you ever thought about how you really learn something new? Not just memorizing facts for a test, but truly understanding it, feeling it click into place? It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes a teacher explains something one way, and it just doesn't make sense. Then, someone else says it a little differently, or shows it, or lets you try it, and suddenly, boom, you get it. This idea that there are many paths to understanding is a big deal in education. Here's the thing, people are different. Our brains work in their own ways. So, what works for one student might not work for another. One person might learn best by reading. Another might need to hear it. Someone else might need to draw it, or build it, or talk it out. Think about it. This isn't a new idea. Even way back, thousands of years ago, smart thinkers understood this. Philosophers in ancient Greece, like Plato, talked about how learning isn't just pouring information into an empty cup. It's more like awakening something that's already there inside us. Later, other thinkers, like Maria Montessori, saw that kids learn by doing, by touching, by exploring their world, not just by listening to a lecture. They saw that a classroom shouldn't be a quiet place where everyone does the same thing at the same time. Instead, it should be a place where different activities let different minds bloom. Imagine you want to learn to bake cookies. One friend might give you a recipe book. You read the steps, measure everything carefully, and hope for the best. That's one way to learn, by reading and following instructions. But maybe your grandma teaches you. She doesn't just hand you a recipe. She shows you. She lets you feel the flour, crack the eggs, smell the vanilla. She talks you through it, tells you stories as you mix. You learn by doing, by experiencing, by listening to her wisdom. Or maybe you watch a video online. You see every step, every whisk, every pour. You learn by watching someone else do it first. All these ways get you to the same delicious outcome, cookies. But the journey to understanding them is different for everyone. The truth is, true learning isn't about fitting everyone into the same box. It's about finding the right key for each unique mind. It's about understanding that knowledge isn't a single highway, but a vast landscape with many paths leading to the same beautiful view. Sometimes, the best lesson isn't taught with words. It's taught with a look, a quiet moment, a challenge that makes you think for yourself. It's taught by letting you make a mistake and figure out why. Every single student is a world unto themselves. And within that world, there are unique connections waiting to be made, unique ways of seeing and understanding. A good teacher, a true reformer, tries to find those connections. They try to speak to the silent languages within us. So, when we think about education, it's not just about what is taught, but how it lands in our minds, how it takes root in our hearts. It's about respect for how different we all are. It's about knowing that sometimes the quietest path can lead to the loudest understanding. And that's a lesson worth carrying with us, always. Have you ever wondered why some things seem to take forever to change? Why do schools, families, or even just old habits stick around, even when new ideas come along that seem better? Here's the thing. It's because old ways hold on tight, really tight. Imagine a path in a field. At first, it's just a faint line. But the more people walk on it, day after day, the deeper and wider that path becomes. Eventually, it's not just a path. It's a worn-down trail, maybe even a small ditch. It's the easiest way to go, even if a new, shorter route pops up through the grass. Going the new way takes effort. It feels less familiar. You might even trip. That's a lot like how ideas and systems work in our world, especially in something as old and important as education. For hundreds of years, the way people taught and learned was passed down from one generation to the next. It wasn't just about what was written in books. It was about how teachers stood at the front of a room, how students sat in rows, how lessons were delivered, and how knowledge was tested. These ways became deeply ingrained. They became the normal way, the right way. Think about your own brain. When you learn something new, like a trick on a skateboard or a new way to solve a math problem, your brain creates new connections. But if you keep doing something the same old way, those existing connections get stronger and faster. Your brain gets really good at that old way. Trying a new way can feel slow and awkward, even if it might be better in the long run. It's like your brain is comfortable in its well-worn path. When people suggest changes, even good ones, it often feels like a threat to that comfortable, well-worn path. Sometimes, people are afraid of the unknown. They worry about what might go wrong. They might believe the old way worked perfectly fine for them, so why mess with it? It's not always about being mean or wanting to stop progress. Often, it's just about human nature, about comfort and safety, and about the deep roots of tradition. These roots hold on tightly, resisting any pull or push towards something different. So, when we look at the reformers who tried to change education, we understand that they weren't just fighting bad ideas. They were often up against something much bigger, the powerful force of what has always been. It reminds us that change is rarely fast or easy. It's a slow process, sometimes like trying to redirect a river that has carved its own course for centuries. But even small diversions can, over a very long time, make a big difference. Have you ever stopped to wonder, truly wonder, why school is set up exactly the way it is? Not just the subjects you learn or the teachers you have, but the way everything works. The bells, the classrooms, the grades, the schedules. It's like a giant, quiet machine, humming along. But who designed this machine? And for what purpose? Here's the thing about school systems. They aren't just random. They have a hidden blueprint. This blueprint was drawn up a long time ago, in a world very different from ours. Imagine a time when factories were booming, needing lots of people to do specific jobs. Society needed workers who were disciplined, who could follow directions, and who would show up on time. So, schools were designed, in part, to prepare people for that kind of world. They taught not just reading and math, but also how to sit still, how to listen, and how to work in groups, moving from one task to the next when a bell rang. This way of doing things became a sort of unspoken rule. Even as the world changed, the basic design of school largely stayed the same. It's a powerful design, meant to create a certain kind of citizen, a certain kind of worker. And that's why it matters. It means that how you learn, what you value in learning, and even how you see your own future can be shaped by this old blueprint without you even realizing it. Think about a simple board game you might play. The rules tell you how to move, what points you get, how to win. But the design of the game, the way the board is laid out, the cards you draw, the colors used, that design subtly encourages you to play a certain way. It makes you think in particular patterns. You don't question it. You just play. School is a bit like that board game. The subjects are the pieces, the teachers are the guides, and the grades are the points. But the deeper design, the very structure, gently pushes you towards certain kinds of thinking and behaving. It's not a bad thing, not at all. It's just how the game was made. So, when we look at the school system, we can see it not just as a place for lessons, but as a carefully built structure. Understanding this helps us see our own learning journey more clearly. It makes us curious about the bigger picture. We can start to think calmly about what kind of learning truly helps us grow, not just for a job, but for life. It reminds us that knowledge is not just in books, but in understanding the very world we move through and the quiet designs that shape it. Have you ever wondered why good ideas sometimes have such a hard time getting noticed? Or why people fight against changes that seem like they would make things better? It's a bit like a hidden history, a quiet struggle that many people don't often talk about. Here's the thing. The stories of the 100 educational reformers we're thinking about aren't just about their brilliant ideas. They're also about the walls those ideas ran into. When we talk about someone being silenced, it doesn't always mean they were literally stopped from speaking. Sometimes it means their ideas were ignored, or misunderstood, or pushed aside because they challenged how things had always been done. Imagine trying to explain a brand new way of thinking to a group of people who are very comfortable with the old way. It's not easy. For a long time, people believed the earth was flat, and anyone saying it was round faced a lot of pushback. It wasn't because the flat earthers were bad people. It was because the idea of a round earth was just too different from what they knew and felt. Their minds were set. That's a bit like what these educational reformers faced. They looked at schools and learning and saw different possibilities. Maybe they thought students should learn by doing, not just by listening. Maybe they believed every child, no matter where they came from, deserved a chance to go to school. These weren't small tweaks. These were often big, bold ideas that asked people to change how they thought about teaching, about learning, and even about society itself. Think about it this way. Imagine you and your friends have always walked the same route home from school. It's familiar. You know every crack in the sidewalk. Then, one day, someone suggests a completely different route. They say it's shorter, or prettier, or safer. Even if it's true, your first thought might be, but we always go this way. Or, what if we get lost? There's a natural pull towards what's known, what's comfortable. That feeling, that comfort with the familiar, is a huge force in the world. It's called resistance to change, and it's a very human thing. So, when these reformers spoke up, they weren't just sharing an idea. They were challenging a whole system, a whole way of life. The people in power, the parents, the teachers, even other students, often had a hard time seeing things differently. Sometimes they worried the new ideas would cost too much money. Sometimes they feared it would make things worse, not better. Sometimes they simply didn't understand. And so, the ideas, brilliant as they were, often struggled to take hold. They were met with doubt, with skepticism, and sometimes with active opposition. These stories aren't just about failures, though. They're about perseverance. They're about the quiet strength it takes to believe in a vision, even when others don't see it. And they teach us something important about progress itself, that it often moves slowly. It's like planting a tree. You don't see the full forest right away. It makes you wonder, too, about the ideas we hear today. Are we listening? Or are we, sometimes, still too comfortable with the way things are to see a new path? Have you ever wondered what might have been? Not just about a test you almost aced, or a game your team nearly won, but about something much bigger, something that could have changed the whole way we learn. We've talked about people who had huge, bright ideas for schools, for how we learn, for what we learn. But their voices were quieted. Their plans never saw the light of day. So, what if they had succeeded? It's a way of thinking about how history isn't just a straight, unbroken line. It's more like a river with many paths and turns. Every decision made, every voice heard or silenced, creates new directions. When a powerful idea is stopped, it's like a path gets closed off before it can even be explored. So, when we ask, what if, we're imagining those paths that were never taken. Think about it. If these reformers had won, our classrooms might look very different today. Maybe learning wouldn't be so much about memorizing facts just for a test. Maybe it would be more about discovering things you truly care about, things that spark your own curiosity. Perhaps schools would feel less like a series of subjects you have to take, and more like places where you explore your own interests and talents. Some of these reformers believed deeply in learning by doing, not just by listening. Imagine classes where you built things with your hands, grew things in a garden, or solved real-world problems with your classmates, using both your mind and your practical skills. What if everyone had the chance to follow their unique passions from a young age? What if schools focused more on helping you become a kind, creative, thinking, and helpful person, instead of just preparing you for a job? Maybe we'd see less pressure and more joy in learning, less fear of making mistakes, and more understanding that mistakes are how we learn best. Teachers might have more freedom to teach in ways that truly fit each student, not just follow a strict rulebook meant for everyone. Consider a tiny seed. It holds all the potential for a beautiful flower or a strong, tall tree. But if that seed is never planted, or if it's planted in bad soil, or if someone accidentally steps on it before it can sprout, that amazing potential is lost. The flower never blooms. The tree never grows tall. It doesn't mean the seed wasn't good or special. It just means its chance to grow was taken away. In the same way, these educational reformers held the seeds of new ideas for how we could learn and grow. If their ideas had been planted and allowed to grow, what kind of educational garden might we have today? Perhaps a more colorful, more diverse, and more resilient one, where every kind of learner could find their sunlight and grow. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What great ideas for learning have we missed out on because certain voices were silenced? How might our world be different if education had truly nurtured every single person's unique spark? We can't go back and change history, but thinking about these what-ifs helps us understand the true value of new ideas. It reminds us to listen closely to those who speak up, even if their voices are quiet, because sometimes the biggest, most beautiful changes start with just one different thought, one new way of seeing the world, that, if allowed to bloom, could make all the difference for everyone. Have you ever wondered what happens to a thought once it's spoken, or even just imagined? Does it simply disappear into the air, like a breath on a cold day? We've talked about many people who had big ideas for schools, for learning, for how we could all grow smarter and better together. But for different reasons, their voices were quieted. They were stopped from sharing their full vision. Here's the thing. Silencing a person is one thing. Silencing an idea? That's much harder. Ideas are not just words floating in the air. They are like seeds. You can try to crush a seed, or bury it deep where there's no light. But sometimes, even a tiny piece of that seed, or just the idea of what it could grow into, finds a way. It finds a crack in the pavement, a little bit of sun, and it starts to push through. It might not be the same plant, but it carries the DNA, the essence of the original. Think about how knowledge works in the world. It's never just one person's discovery, all alone. Someone has an idea. Maybe it's a new way to understand numbers, or a different way to think about stories. At first, maybe no one listens. Or worse, maybe powerful people don't like that new idea, because it challenges what they already believe. So they try to shut it down. They might stop the person who said it, or try to erase their writings. But often, that idea, or parts of it, have already been whispered to a friend, written in a hidden notebook, or just sparked a similar thought in someone else's mind. It's a lot like an echo. You stand in a big canyon, or an empty gym, and you shout. The sound waves race out, right? They hit the walls, they bounce back. Even if you put your hand over your mouth the moment you shout, the original sound has already left your lips. It's out there. And those echoes, they might be fainter, a little warped, but they carry the same message. They tell you something was said. They remind you of the sound that was made, even if the person who made it is no longer speaking. The educational reformers we've discussed, their original voices might have been quieted. Their immediate plans stopped cold. But their ideas, their passionate beliefs about how learning should happen, these didn't just vanish. They became echoes. They bounced around in the minds of others. They inspired new teachers, new thinkers, new parents, even decades later. Sometimes, these echoes were very faint, just a small whisper of a concept. Other times, they gathered strength, combining with other whispers, until they grew loud enough to be heard clearly again. So, when we look at our schools today, when we see new ways of teaching, or new ways of thinking about what's important in education, remember these silenced voices. Remember their echoes. They help shape the path we are on. Their hope for a better way of learning, their struggle for a more just and open education, wasn't for nothing. It lived on, quietly, persistently, making its way through time, reminding us that good ideas, truly good ideas, have a remarkable power to endure. Have you ever wondered why we look back at history? It's not just about remembering dates or old facts. History is like a deep conversation with people who lived before us. It's about understanding their struggles and their dreams. And sometimes, it's about listening to voices that were silenced a long, long time ago. These 100 reformers we talk about were people who saw things differently. They believed education could be better, fairer, and more useful. They had ideas that, at the time, made some people uncomfortable. So, their voices were quieted. Their ideas didn't always take root right away. But here's the thing. Problems and people don't change that much over time. The same hopes, the same fears, the same arguments often pop up again and again, just in different clothes. Think about a sports team. Imagine a basketball coach showing their players old game footage. Maybe it's from a game they won big, or maybe it's a tough loss. The coach isn't showing it just to make them feel good or bad about the past. They're showing it so the players can learn. Look, the coach might say, this is what worked here. Or, see how we missed that pass? We need to work on that. The past game isn't happening now, but watching it helps the team play better today. It helps them avoid old mistakes and use old successes. It's the same with these silenced reformers. Their ideas are like that game footage. They showed us different ways to think about learning, about teaching, about what schools are for. Some wanted education to be open to everyone, not just the rich. Others believed in teaching practical skills, not just old books. Many felt learning should be about understanding the world, not just memorizing. When their voices were quieted, it wasn't because their ideas were always wrong. Sometimes it was because their ideas were too new or too challenging for their time. But we can learn from their challenges. We can see what made change hard back then, and that helps us understand why change is still hard today. It helps us see the threads connecting the past to our present. Their quieted dreams become lessons for us. They teach us about courage, about sticking to your beliefs, and about the long, slow work of making things better. When we remember these reformers, we're not just digging up old stories. We are giving their quieted voices new life. We are taking their wisdom, their warnings, and their hopes, and we are bringing them into our own time. It helps us think about our own schools, our own communities, and it reminds us that the quest for better learning, for a fairer world, is a journey that continues. We are part of that journey now, standing on the ground they helped prepare, even if silently. Their efforts, though often unseen, truly make a difference in how we see the world and how we imagine what comes next. Have you ever felt like your thoughts don't really matter? Like what you say won't change anything big? It's easy to feel small in a big world. But here's the thing. Every one of us has a voice. It's not just the sound you make. It's also your ideas, your questions, your opinions, and even your silence. For the people we've talked about, the educational reformers, their voices were powerful. So powerful that some wanted to silence them. Those who stopped them knew a new idea could spread fast. History shows this again and again. One person stands up, speaks a truth, and others start to listen. It might take time, a long time. But the seed of an idea, once planted, can grow. Think about it like this. Imagine you're in a dark room. It's completely black. You can't see anything. Now, someone lights a single small candle. Does it make the whole room bright? No, not really. But you can see a little. You can find your way. And if someone else lights another candle, then another, the room starts to get much brighter. Each candle is small alone, but together, they chase away the darkness. Your voice is like that candle. On its own, it might seem small. You might think, what can I do? I'm just one person. But that one voice, that one question, that one idea can light up a corner. It can make someone else think. It can spark a conversation. And when conversations start, things begin to change. Think about ideas that changed the world. None started with a giant crowd shouting. They started with one person, or a small group, whispering an idea, writing it down, or quietly trying something new. People like Malala Yousafzai, who spoke up for girls' education, or someone in your own town who suggested a new recycling program. Their voices weren't always loud at first, but they were clear. They were persistent. Sometimes, speaking up means asking a question in class, even if you think it's silly. Sometimes it means standing up for a friend when no one else will. Sometimes it's about sharing your opinion respectfully, even if it's different. And sometimes it's about truly listening to someone else's voice, helping them find their own. When those educational reformers were silenced, it wasn't because their ideas were weak. It was often because their ideas were strong. They challenged the way things had always been. But even when a voice is silenced, the echo can remain. The ideas don't always die. Someone else can pick them up later and carry them forward. So, what does this mean for you? It means your thoughts matter. Your questions matter. The way you choose to speak, or even to listen, matters. Every time you think carefully, every time you share a kind word, every time you ask why, you are using your voice. You are adding your candle to the room. It's not about being the loudest or always having the perfect answer. It's about understanding that your view, your unique way of seeing the world, has value. It can help make things clearer, fairer, and better. You have a part to play, simply by being yourself and letting your voice be heard, even if quietly.